we used to have a man. We had men, a man. Now we have a cis heteronormative male. That's more comfortable for everyone. Everyone comfortable with the cis heteronormative male? God forbid we have a man. I agree that you are a flawed person. I bet you a lot of people are going to tease me over my hot take that I think Brie Larson is really fucking talented. But she's a pity seeker. She's out there seeking pity. That's all she wants is just a pity and a pat on the back.
Subjective.
I'll take my hits on She-Hulk. I'll take my hits on Loki. Don't fucking talk shit about Lost to me. You just don't respect me. And I'm going to have to move on.
One of these days,
first, I'd like to say that I completely agree with Gray that he was wrong and he acted foolishly.
I won't. So amazing. So brave. Hey, everybody.
Yo.
Episode 12. Wow.
Welcome.
Just be honest.
The Dirty
this
Dozen.
is amazing, man. We're up to a dozen now. We're like solidly in the preteens now. This is, it's interesting. I can't say I anticipated us being here. So glad we are. So how's your week been, sir? It's always great to catch up with you. But I don't think I've talked to you in a minute.
I mean,
how's your week going?
Yeah, it's it's the usual exciting things. We had the birthday celebrations last week, and then, what the fuck did I do? I think, we had another birthday party. It's the pleasure of having divorced families. You always have to have two birthday parties, or if it's a really bad divorce, you probably only get one birthday. So,
I was gonna say,
we did that.
We could all be that lucky.
Yeah, and so we went to a restaurant called BJ's this time. BJ's would have been better than this fucking restaurant, let me tell you. But but besides that, just rocking and rolling, living the life. How about you, man? What's going on with you?
Not too much. It was supposed to be kind of a I don't know what you want to call it, like an eventful week. I was going to a couple of concerts, so I went to one of them, and right as like the headliner started coming on, the lady next to me passed out kind of on me, so I had to like grab her, help her to the ground, and then she started like vomiting on the ground. So then she kind of came to, so I had to like help carry her to the side. No, we rolled her so that she was not facing anybody, but on her side while she was passed out, and then she got up. I'm not sure if like the bass was just too loud or too much or what, but
she sounds adorable.
So that was eventful for sure. Interesting meeting, but so there was that, and then I was supposed to go to another concert over the weekend, and apparently there was weather that was too harsh for it, so that was canceled. And I found out as I was standing in, I don't know, about 1,000th place in line, and they hadn't opened the doors yet, like 2 hours after they're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just a zoo getting like the thousands of people out of this same place. So
who was it?
that sucked. Yes,
Miley
it was
Cyrus?
Actually Lizzo, but Lizzo. What can I say? I dig the flout, man. Have you seen her flute? So it was kind of a disappointing week. It was supposed to be full of fun, but somehow it was different than I anticipated. But still not a bad week. It wasn't like full of tragedy or anything like that. Just unexpected events, if you will.
Yeah,
and then
things happen.
some other events happened as well. So I don't know. I guess just it was a week full of surprises for me, I should say. Some interesting stuff involving both of us happened, and I think we both kind of came to some epiphanies and realized we're not necessarily in the right on a lot of things. Yeah. Guess that's kind of just a taste of it, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
My world is shattering.
For sure. I know. So that's coming off like I'm being snide on this or whatever, but honestly, it's helped me really see things in a different light. And I honestly kind of see the error in my ways. So this has been a really interesting week for sure, and I will get to that a little bit later. We are kind of teasing that in a way, but some interesting events did happen in this week.
I agree that you are a flawed person, so I was able to
for sure. Please,
how fucked up you are. So I can't wait to talk about
Oh,
that further,
no.
at a later time. But
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I appreciate you. You're a good person, and but I'm glad that we've
No,
had this change of heart of
for sure,
realization. It's really it's
for
had a
sure.
positive effect on me. So
Yeah,
that's all. That's all
even
I'll
with
say
the
about
weirdness that has gone on.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll talk about it a little bit later, but, even with the weirdness and, like, everything else that has happened this week, I don't know, it still seemed like a positive week. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's a really good thing. But yes, we tease, keep, teasing what this could be. But, yeah,
I
you
like
know
to
what?
tease.
Why don't we just, yeah, some teasing is good. But, why don't we just get into the
What
first thing?
kind of
Let's,
shit is this? I said.
oh,
Like that song.
it is a
So
great song. Uh,
yeah.
what have you been watching over this last week? You kinda gave me some homework, and I kind of failed on it. So sorry I just asked you a
You
question and started
piece
talking.
of shit.
Uh, so there is one thing that you wanted to talk about, but let me kinda disappoint you before I let you go. So The Crowded Room, there's 10 episodes. I just finished episode 5 last night. So I think I know
Okay.
what the twist is, but I technically haven't seen it yet, so we might have to wait one more
But
week
you're
on
like
that.
right there.
But I think I know what it is. I think it's pretty obvious, but, I'm not
Yeah.
sure if
But like
that's correct or not.
it's probably is what you think it is. You're smart. You're a smart boy. And that's probably you probably got it. And anybody else who did their homework and
I
played along and watched the episodes, if they're anywhere past 5 or 6, they know what the fuck's going on too. And you know what?
I think
I'll
it'd have
I'll
to be
give it
on
like
6. Like, it
yeah, maybe I'll give it one more week.
okay. I'd appreciate that. I will be 100% caught up, and then,
Okay.
we'll give full spoilers on that one. But, I gotta say, it is an interesting show.
Yeah.
Sorry, to set it up, it's Tom Holland, Amanda Seyfried, there's a whole bunch of other good actors and actresses, but I do not recognize any of their names.
Mhm.
But, it is quite a good tale. It somehow through, I'm guessing, just like Grease and, clothing choice, they made Tom Holland look very unattractive,
I
when
know.
he's, like,
I
full
know.
on crazy or whatever, which it's like, I don't know, I was just always very jealous of that guy, like, I'm sure he's, like, very I don't know, when you see him in this, it's like, "Oh,
He's he's a
that's a weird
fucking good
dude I don't
actor.
wanna talk to." Yeah, for sure, but, I don't know, I guess I just, always thought he was, more appealing visually than, I have seen him
Yeah.
in this role, so they did a really good job kind of, making him more of a normal guy in a weird way. But, yeah, just the acting in it I've really appreciated, but, even the children actors, pretty good.
Yeah.
The one playing, the young version of him and his,
What
identical
was his
twin
name?
brother.
Adam?
Adam was the brother, I can't remember the main character's name right
Yeah,
now.
me either. Well, it is low effort. We really don't have to
Yes.
care. Uh,
That's true, I mean, we don't wanna actually put some effort into this.
yeah.
But, the kid actors didn't take me out of it. Usually they
No.
do, like, usually it's,
Nobody
but,
did. There
yeah, I
wasn't
thought
one actor
the
that
sets on this are just
like
amazing,
didn't
and, like,
pull
when
it.
they go to London, it
Yeah.
looks like London in the '70s, like, just
Yep.
everything about it is, great. I'm not sure if it keeps coming up. Is there a reason why everything is named Wong in this? Like, I don't know, the taxi company is, like, a Wong company, and then, when it goes to England, it's, like, the Wong Noodle House or something.
You know
I
what?
don't
I
know,
didn't
maybe
notice
it'll
that, but
come up later.
I bet you that it's in there for a reason. It's that kind of show. It's the kind of show that you
Ah,
can. And I said this last time. You can go back and watch in the beginning and be like, "How did I not fucking catch this?" Um,
mm.
so
Well, I'm
you're
excited
definitely
for the twist. I
yeah.
think it must be coming this next episode,
And then
but,
it just once the
the
twist
acting is great.
hits, it's still
Mhm.
there's still a lot of punches. There's still a lot of story to be told, and they leave it in a very satisfying way. So I think
Nice.
probably
So the
one of the
one thing,
better
like, if I
ones
was
so
to
far.
criticize one thing,
Mm,
it would just be, I don't think that they've utilized Amanda Seyfried, and maybe that's just
I
so
agree,
far
but
because
don't worry,
like,
that she gets better.
she just has, like, a couple of lines. Okay, cool. So
Yeah, she
I
gets
hope they, do make more with her. She just kinda plays a counselor or a
yeah, she's a very good actress too.
psychiatrist, and, yeah, I was kinda hoping that, she'd be more in the show or everything, but, yeah, apparently more will be coming up. So I'm definitely
Yeah,
looking forward to that. That was a great recommendation. Yeah,
yeah,
I would
Ray Liotta's in
again,
there
I'm not
too,
done. I don't have
right?
the, twist yet, but, sorry, what was that? Could you say that one more time? I spoke over you?
Ray Liotta is in there too, I think. Isn't he? Isn't he the
Ooh,
father?
if he is, I haven't seen him yet. I
No.
have not met the
Well,
father
then I
yet,
ruined it.
so that could be a little bit of a spoiler, but that's awesome because I thought Ray Liotta's last, gig was Cocaine Bear, which,
Now there's something else.
again, it meant a lot to
It
me,
might
and
have been his
I got a
second to
few
last.
things out of that. But, yeah, I I know a lot of people don't have the same kind of affection I have for
Yeah.
Cocaine Bear, understandably. But that's awesome to hear that he's in it. So I look forward to that, and I'd like to do full spoilers next time. I will be
Yeah.
fully up to that.
It's very good.
But sorry, I interrupted you. Did you watch anything this last week?
You know, I watched a bunch of shit. So I watched.
Nice.
I've been a real Apple TV kick, as you guys know, and I tried Silo. Are you familiar with Silo?
I've just seen the ad for it, but I don't know too much about it.
It's fucking terrible. It's fucking terrible. So
No, that's
it's a
I haven't
really
heard much about it.
yeah, it's a really good idea. So it's about like I guess it's way in the future, and there's like a colony of people that live in this silo underground, and so they can't go outside of the silo because the air is poison. I don't remember why. I don't even think I got far enough. But then the only thing is, if you get like severely punished by the colony, or I just burped a little, excuse me, or if you say I want to go outside, then you get put outside and you have to go clean the camera, because there's a camera that points outside to show how fucked up everything is out there. And you got to go out and clean it, and then you walk off, and nobody ever makes it more than like 10 feet away before they fucking die. But here's like the fucked up part, which made me want to keep going, is so everybody sees the camera. And this is a whole, like, when I say colony, I'm talking like a fucking country lives in this silo. And
Wow.
So when they send these people out, like they sent this one woman out because she went fucking nuts or something because she couldn't handle being in the silo anymore. And she sees like all this gray, desolate shit everybody else saw. She sees like a blue sky and these amazing fucking things. Like I don't even know if they're supposed to be birds, but they're flying. It's almost trippy looking.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's watching her on the camera, and she's just like falling over, dying in the dirty dirt. Like she really dies out there, but to her, it's all fucking beautiful. So the main point is outside of the silo, everybody sees this beautiful blue sky and amazing green, lush, grass, and everybody inside the silo thinks it's poison, and it fucking sucks out there. So, but anyway,
It's not blast from the past type deal. It just seems like it'd be familiar territory where, like, it's green skies and everything up, or blue skies up above, green grass. But apparently they were just wrong. This one, there's something going on.
It's
interesting.
deliberate. It's like deliberate that they're being.
It sounds very Lost-like.
Except the twist on this show is it fucking sucks. Like the acting sucks. The set sucks.
No,
like
the twist on Lost as well. I mean,
Lost?
The beards alone.
On Lost?
I'm just saying, like, wasn't that kind of the twist there too? That it's
what,
like,
that it sucked?
It turns out this is kind of a shitty story, and it is what everyone thought it was.
Listen,
I don't know.
Don't.
It's subjective.
I'll take my hits on She-Hulk. I'll take my hits on Loki. Don't fucking talk shit about Lost to me. Don't. I fucking love that show. Loved it.
Wow.
Great
more
show.
than Stargate Atlantis.
Yeah, more than Stargate Atlantis, and I really like that shit too.
Wow.
No, Lost was a really good show,
that's
man.
a hot take to me, man.
I got another hot take.
It was
good
at getting you to want to see the next one, but okay, we got to talk about Lost at some point, man.
Okay, all right. Schedule
I
that one
think,
for the
it's
future.
there, and it teases well, but like, the payoff is not there for me. But I could understand how it could be for some. I'm not saying it's a horrible show.
There's no spoilers there. I love the finale of that fucking movie. I loved it. I mean, I thought it was beautiful. What a way to end the fucking show.
Okay.
Like, it was the most important part of their lives, the most important point in all their lives, that they all came back together to move on. Like, fucking beautiful.
I get it. I didn't hate that. It's just that's what the fans were like theorizing since like season 1, and they're like, no, and then it turns out.
Well, what are they gonna do? Tell you everything? What do you want?
Fair enough, but
poor JJ
sorry, I very much digressed us from the silo. So I guess you would not agree with me that the twist is that it's dumb. So okay, I can get that. At least it was done well with Lost. Is it more like an M. Night Shyamalan type deal where the twist is, in fact, it's a stupid movie?
Dude,
I don't know. The Village comes to mind.
You're giving like accidental spoilers here almost. Because there's an M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong on my list. So okay. But it's more okay.
I didn't know he had a recent one, so I'm actually excited to hear which one you saw of his.
No, I'll tell you, but it's not even recent, and I didn't even know about it. But anyway, it's so just to sum up Silo, it's so hard to watch. You want to watch it, you want it to be good, but it's like it's just not. And the acting is horrendous. They're stretching shit out, and they're like, when like you're watching a show and like the characters,
I hate
the
that.
actors are like
when they get it wrong.
When it's like a forced relationship and it's not real. You could tell like
Mhm.
just they're like, I love you, but I love you too, and it's like, no, you don't. You don't even fucking know each other. Like it's not good acting.
Yeah. I hate that. And then you were saying like it's slow too. I hate it when they don't have the pacing right too, where it's just like, okay, come on.
Yeah,
Like
something.
I don't know. You don't need a filler episode in live action. I guess. I don't know.
You don't. I'm sorry, you don't need a fucking filler episode. Period. Like filler episodes were for back in the day when when they wrote these fucking stories with paper. Like get over yourself. Everybody needs a job. Fill in. Get somebody else to work for a little while. Like no fillers. I hate. It's a waste of my not money.
Well, if you were to come up with your own rating system for this movie,
yeah,
what type of rating system would you have?
I would give it.
How many starfish would you give it?
I would give it out of 5 starfish. I would give it a half a starfish. I would break a starfish in half.
Ooh.
I may even break off a leg.
And can you give 0, or does it make you give at least a half starfish?
Well, you got to give something for like
theoretical
it's like when you
0
sign
possible?
your name. There's no 0. No, I always award something for effort.
Okay. Okay.
And these people all showed up. So.
Okay. So they
showed
earned
up
that half a starfish.
Yeah. It was so bad. It was so
Silo.
Yeah. No, watch it. It fucking sucks. Watch it. So then I want to throw a movie in here in between before we get to the Shyamalan.
Please do. I was going to say, does it happen to be a Shyamalan? But
it's not.
I guess it's not. So sorry, please go with your movie. I'll stop making suggestions.
Yeah, no, Shyamalan's going to subvert your expectations once again, but I'll get to that in 1 second.
Ooh.
So
I was not expecting that.
He does. This is what he does. So the movie that I watched was it was called no, I'll get it. It's the Glass House. No, the Glass Castle.
Yes, you had that down here, and I did not do that portion of my homework either. The Glass Castle.
Yeah. Did I talk about the Glass Castle already? No?
I don't think you did. I think you said we should watch that and then talk about it.
Yeah,
but,
okay.
Well, I have that written down on this note next to the crowded room. So I think it came from you as well.
Well, then I'm just gonna tell everything about it. And I'm gonna say it's a beautiful story about this girl who lived a shit fucking life, and it turns it all around, and it's just it's basically one of these stories. It's like an emotional journey, like the last Passion of the Christ is. You know what I mean? Like it's basically like these kids just getting bludgeoned their entire lives emotionally, but then like pulling it together in the end for each other, whatever. But it's not the point. The point is that I have a new hot take here, and I gotta tell you, man, I think fucking Brie Larson is incredible. I think that girl's fucking incredible.
I mean, I know you love Captain Marvel, but wow.
I didn't have a problem with that movie. I think I wanted to hate it, but I never really said anything bad about it. But it's not that bad either. And she's a really good fucking actress.
I think it was good. Was the thing. Like some Marvel ones were good. So by the time this came out, it was like, eh. And then I don't know, she just seemed mean for no reason. Like
she does.
She really hurt the biker guy for no reason.
She seems like a bitch in real life.
I don't know. That was kind of the thing.
But
fair enough.
She's
but
talented.
I've got to say, I've seen her act in a few things that I didn't hate. I'm trying to think. There was the one where she has the kid in the room. Now I'm forgetting what it's called. Yeah, she's in a couple of them. Like, is it The Room? So I was about to say that, and I was like, no, that's the Tommy Wiseau one or whatever. Like, it can't be the same title.
Yeah.
Anyway, I screwed myself over by overthinking it. But yes, the one with the room called The Room. Anyway, I mean, obviously she doesn't do bad in that one. I think she was nominated for something for that.
Extremely
and,
talented.
I know I saw her in kind of an older one too. Yeah, I didn't hate her. Definitely came off somewhat robotic in Captain Marvel as well, but I don't know how I would portray like an alien character or whatever.
She's robotic. She's a fucking robotic hot bitch. Like she always has that way. Like even in this fucking movie, The Glass Castle or whatever it's called, she's like really robotic, but it's just her personality. Like you ever meet a chick like that that's just really rigid, but they're smoking hot.
No, that doesn't exist. Generally, personality comes with hotness. Come on.
It goes hand in hand. But they,
Oh,
but
yeah.
no, this girl's so talented. And you know what's another good one with her? Free Fire. You ever seen that?
I don't think so.
It's
The
fucking
name doesn't
great.
even sound familiar to me.
It's great. So
Hmm.
it's look it up with her name if anybody's interested in watching this movie. So it's about a
I
bunch
mean,
of
I'm constantly
gangsters.
Googling it, so.
Yeah, you should. And do the Tonight Show appearance with it when she's got the cans. It's
I'm
fucking
familiar
great.
with it.
Every man is familiar with that picture. It doesn't even matter if you know who Brie Larson is. You're like, I know them. I know those titties anywhere. But
Oh, her.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's nice. She's talented. But she so this movie's about like
So smart.
two sets of gangsters meeting up to exchange. They're gonna buy and sell guns, and something goes wrong during the exchange. I think
Okay.
like there's a guy who shouldn't have been there or something, or a guy who got in an altercation earlier in the day, and then they end up getting into a gunfight inside of this warehouse, and it's a big warehouse, but not that fucking big, you know. And it's like I think like 30 people just trying to kill each other, but in the most realistic way possible. Like it's not like they're standing behind like a barrel and like firing off rounds and rounds and rounds. It's like they realistically have a bullet count. They realistically have like expectations of what a gunshot will do to you in that moment. And I mean, I don't think they like scienced this out or anything. They just were like realistic. And
They got the ballistics dummies.
yeah,
They
I don't want to
measured,
like
angles
I don't
of
want to give some
trajectory.
false expectation, but she's fucking good as shit in that too. But there's like stuff like there's one guy laying like in a little bit of a divot, and another guy's trying to fucking shoot him, and the guy's got his gun like, and they're like it's Brie Larson like just kicking the shit in that movie.
Huh.
And these movies like that in the Glass Castle, these were before they picked her to be Captain Marvel, and it made me think when I
Damn.
watched this Glass Castle movie, like maybe there's a fucking reason they picked her to be Captain Marvel. Maybe it wasn't her fault that it fucking sucked.
For sure.
You know? But then she was
For
like
sure. I think a lot
she
of it
was a
goes onto
cunt,
the writing,
so.
not her actual performance. I think that was the performance they were looking for.
Yeah.
I mean, like she was obviously cast for a reason. So I don't know. My problem's mostly with the writing, but I can understand why she wasn't the nicest person in some of the interviews as well, and did kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know that she did herself favors with the interviews. I'll put it that way. But I definitely agree with you. I think a lot of people have called her like a bad actress unfairly. I've definitely seen her do really good in a few roles. So yeah, I'm not super familiar with all of her roles, but I know
Yeah.
The Room. Like that's hard to kind of deny.
And it's funny
But I'll
because
have
it
to
kind
check
of
out that gangster one.
yeah, it's Free Fire. Absolutely. If anybody
Free Fire.
who's listening, just if you haven't watched this movie, take the time out to, even if you gotta rent it, like whatever you gotta do, watch it. It's so much fun. It's like one of those movies you want to watch, and the characters are all uh, really solid characters. Like I don't you're not gonna be looking for like a big story or anything like that. It's literally like the entire movie takes place in real time during the shootout. Like it's just the shootout. I think there's a little bit of prep beforehand to get you to know the players, but like I'm talking like 5-10 minutes maybe tops, and then it's the warehouse,
Damn.
and that's it till the end.
That actually sounds kind of cool. Kind
Yeah, I
of
highly
Reservoir
recommend it.
Dogs ish, but I'd
Yeah,
definitely like to
it's
see that.
different. So yeah, so
Oh,
but then
sorry,
like I
but
said,
you were talking about Glass Castle.
yeah, no, I was just saying that
Um,
like the theme that that this week seems to be taking for me is looking at somebody like that I previously thought like, oh, that sucks, that she sucks, and now I'm like, wait a minute, she's really fucking good. Like, why did I just blankly think this girl sucks? And not to say I'm like
Well.
easily swayed, but it, maybe I don't know, maybe being a little bit older, getting some gray, getting a little extra gray, and maybe change my perspective in life. I don't know.
Well, as another gray, I am also changing my perspective. I definitely should give her more of a shot because
Yeah.
I got to be honest, I definitely saw more of her stuff in the past. Haven't really seen anything since Captain Marvel. That's probably on me. I probably should look into that. I really appreciate that you kind of brought that to my attention because, yeah, I also have been feeling like I've been, I don't know, joining teams or something a little bit too easily this time and kind of not giving things their, I don't know, full fair shake, if
Yeah.
you will.
It's almost like we were
I
looking for a
definitely could
pattern.
see that I'm. Yeah, I could definitely see that with the Brie Larson thing. Kind of the only thing that I can think about is, the kind of coverage of those kind of bad interviews that she had,
Yeah.
and then everyone kind
Yeah.
of mocking her performance, the whole MCU thing, and then
Right.
her being kind of the figurehead of it. Um, yeah, I don't know. Perhaps I haven't given her a fair shake.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, like,
yeah.
honestly, and I bet you a lot of people are gonna tease me over my hot take that I think Brie Larson is really fucking talented. But you know what?
Well, I mean, between the
Tease me.
two of us, like, okay, so if we go through the list, you like She-Hulk, Captain Marvel, Loki, let's see, I feel like there was one other one, Stargate,
Yeah.
and then, I
Atlantis.
got Velma covered.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Stargate Atlantis. So, I don't know, between, our takes there, oh, and I love the Barbie movie. So, yeah, between that, I guess we're just full of hot takes,
Yeah.
really bad ones, but,
I know I
what
know
can we
I know
say?
what I know what a
Yeah.
certain somebody in chat is gonna be calling me right now. You know who you are,
Uh,
mysterious stranger.
I got a feeling I know what he's gonna say to that too. Uh, what can we say?
But like, if you
We're
really,
happy.
not to beat the dead horse here with the Brie Larson thing, but like, if you ask the average person, like, what do you think of Brie Larson? They're gonna be like, fuck that. Brie Larson's terrible. But then if you ask that same person, like, how many of her movies have you ever watched? And out of all those movies, how many was she really good in? And it's like, full fuck. I think all the movies I've watched with her, she was really good in. Not to say they were all really good movies, but she was good in them.
So it
Except for
sounds
Captain
like
Marvel. That
Glass
fucking sucked.
Castle so it sounds like Glass Castle might not be, like, super fun to watch, but you're
Oh
saying she was
no.
good in it. If you were to give, like, a rating to this, what rating would you give?
Honestly, I would give it like 4.5, 4.5 starfish out of 5, because
Oh,
it
nice.
was
So,
really, it was not only a moving movie, like, emotionally, um, it like actually made me think about some things in my life, like my childhood and shit,
nice.
that I haven't thought about in years. And I was like, holy fucking shit, like, what a different perspective I have on that all of a sudden because of a fucking Brie Larson movie. Like, are you shitting me? And
Wow.
now I'm pissed off that I like her. So I do.
Does it have, like, rewatch value, or is it one of those that's, like, really hard
You
to
could probably
rewatch?
rewatch it. You could probably rewatch it. And
Okay.
it's not like,
There's some like, I totally think they're worth seeing, like, what Requiem for a Dream is kinda like my go-to on that, like,
yeah, it's not
it's a
like
great
that.
movie. It's hard to watch, like,
Yeah.
I don't know that I can sit through that many times. But okay, if it's not quite like that, still, that'd be good. Even if, it was, one time of seeing that movie is definitely worth it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, sometimes those emotional ones are hard for the rewatch,
Yeah.
at least for me.
Yeah. There, and I mean, like, if you're somebody who is affected by alcoholism in your family, this will either be like really triggering or really cathartic for you, because it's like, um, it just, they just did a really great job. And I think I said
Sounds like they
Woody
portray it
Harrelson
real.
portrays the
Oh,
father,
I bet he
and
could definitely portray it drunk.
that's like, it's like every role of his, but man, does he do it well. And the
Yeah.
mother is Naomi Watts, and she can play a fucking
Oh, I haven't
lunatic
seen
like
her in
nobody
anything for a
else.
while.
She's popping up in
Yeah.
shit all the time. She's in crazy weird shit all the time. I'll get you
I
a
used
couple
to
of hers. She's not what she used to be, but
nice.
she's still a good actress. God damn it. But that's
Well,
about it. That's
she'll
enough
always have a
sucking the teat of Brie
fair
Larson
enough.
for a day. But I can move on
Fair
whenever you're
enough.
ready.
Well, I have a couple of oh, sorry, yeah, you gave your rating on that one. So I have a couple. So I'm now all caught up on Ahsoka. Gotta be honest, it got a lot better. I think it was episode 6. All of a sudden, I wanted to watch episode 7. I hadn't felt
Oh,
that with any of the other ones. I don't know. It was just a lot of buildup for people who aren't familiar with like the Rebels TV show. There's a lot of things that they might have been familiar of and like set up for something they know about, but it just felt like it was filler. And then finally, stuff started happening in episode 6, and it seemed kind of interesting, and I wanted to know what was next. Still, there's weird things. Like in episode 6, you finally get to see this kind of new world with like new creatures. It's like, yes, that's what I want from Star Wars. Like, this is
yeah,
fucking awesome. But yeah, it just took 6 episodes to get there. And then, yeah, it's okay. Overall, I'd say it's not their best show, but it's not their worst show. I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent. I hope they stick the landing on the end of the season, but the first half of it definitely didn't get me. So overall, if I were to like rate it right now, I'd probably give it like 3 out of 5, maybe 2.5 out of 5. Somewhere around there. But the potential to screw this up even more is there.
Oh, it's there.
There's a lot of elements of it that I don't like about it. Like, apparently they're parts of the cartoon, but yeah, apparently there's space whales now. I don't know if you remember in The Last Jedi where they introduced space horses, but now there's space whales. Uh, anyway, it's interesting. Lightsabers don't seem to do the same thing anymore. They just, I don't know, people can get away from lightsaber wounds, and they don't seem to do a ton of damage anymore. So, I don't know. Certain things I don't agree with. Certain things are kind of interesting. So, I don't know. I hope they stick the landing, but I'm not digging it that much so far. Yeah.
You want
Uh,
you want to hear
Sorry,
you want
right
to hear
ahead,
something
man.
that will fucking piss off a few people that I won't even mention their names, but will piss off some people we know. I'm watching
Sure.
I'm watching Ashoka vicariously through EFAP. I'm watching EFAP watch
Nice.
Ashoka and talk about it, and I know the stuff you're talking about. That she gets stabbed with the fucking lightsaber, and it's just like she's like,
Yeah.
I'm fine the next day. Fucking, she's like, I have a
Yeah.
mark. I
It's
have a
like,
mark.
okay.
And-
So I thought this like did something.
I
I
mean,
mean, she is a Mandalorian, so maybe that means something. I don't know.
I guess if it doesn't hit any vital organs, maybe because it's so hot. I don't know. Maybe you just hit it the
I
right
guess it would
angle, but I feel like
cauterize
a
the
lot more
wound,
people would have
but
lived. Yeah,
yeah.
in and out.
But there's
But
some
I feel like
cool
there'd be a hole
aspects
there.
to it. There's some characters that I kind of want to know more about, like Ray Stevenson or whatever. He plays kind of this gray in between Jedi Sith kind of for hire guy. I don't know.
Mhm.
It's interesting. I don't think they're going to stick the landing, but if they do, yeah, it would be more positive than negative at this point. But
Who's
that's
the
just because
green
episodes 6 and 7 were good.
who's the green chick from
The chick with the
Scott Pilgrim? The chick with the great ass.
oh,
The one who sticks her ass out through
I
the whole show.
cannot. Yeah, I can't think of the actress's
Is it like
name,
Mary?
but
It's like Mary something.
could be. I probably
I don't
should
know,
have more
but
effort
she
than
was in
this, and I
Scott
load up
Pilgrim
her more.
versus the World, right? She was Ramona.
I think so. I believe that's where I know her from, but
Ramona.
I did like zero research on this. I just kind of watched it and was
Slow effort, buddy.
yeah,
Slow
just kind
effort.
of going off feel, just the patterns that I noticed. But yeah, I'm hoping they stick the landing on this. But there was one show that I watched that was much more entertaining than that. And that is
Mhm.
Gen V. Have you heard anything about this show at
Oh,
all?
is this the boys spinoff?
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you familiar with The Boys? So it's kind of like
Yeah.
the X-Men
Look,
Academy of their world.
look,
So it's
look at
like
this shit.
these teen soups. Nice. So if you liked that show at all, it's much in that same vein. So it's over the top violence, some gross out stuff. But oh no, we just saw what kind of computer you have now, sir.
Yeah. You
All
know
is
all my
lost.
information. There was a little
Um,
Lego guy back there too. It's my kids
so yeah,
spinoff
it's
now.
kind of interesting. They had 3 episodes of it by the time that I saw it, so I think they released all 3 of them at once. But yeah, it's actually quite entertaining. I like season 1 of The Boys a lot. This reminds me a lot of that. I'm invested in the story so far, but yeah, it's kind of like the X-Men of that world, or the X-Men Academy of that world. It's kind of fun. I'm enjoying it, seeing all the weird superpowers that would happen in this world. Anyway, so far so good. And that one, I definitely give it a very positive. I don't know, maybe 4 out of 5 if I was to give Starfish for this. But yeah, again, the potential to screw it up should they not do that. But yeah, I'd highly recommend that one if you like The Boys. It actually
It
seems like
looks
it's along the
terrible.
same lines. It does. What part of it
Yeah.
looked terrible to you?
Just the pictures,
All right,
the,
fair enough. I knew
the
nothing
cast.
about it. I
No,
was
I'm just
just told
kidding.
to review it for
I'm
this
just
other
like you.
show I'm
I'm
going in.
primed for it to suck. You know, like I
Probably.
just
I
assume it's
really
gonna.
didn't like the last season of The Boys. It could have been better. I thought there was a lot
Yeah.
of ham-fisted stuff. So I was thinking, this has the potential to do kind of the same thing because you got teens. Everyone could be super sensitive, and there is a character who one of their superpowers is they can kind of switch between genders. But it still
Mm,
didn't feel like over the top or anything like that to me. It I don't know. I
tell
kind
me
of dug it.
more.
I mean, it's over the top in the way that a like superhero show is, but yeah, it didn't seem like ham-fisted political messages shoved down your throat, where I kind of felt that from the latter season of The Boys. But
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, I would give that a positive. If you did like that type of thing, I would definitely check it out. It is over the top and kind of gross. So if you're not into that, don't do that.
Yeah.
And then kind of the final thing is I watched Wheel of Time. They're up to episode 7 now. I gotta be honest, I liked 4, 5, and 6, and 7 just didn't get me. They called it I think it's Dios de Mar, the Game of Houses, and they did not do any of that in this thing. I don't know why they wasted that title for such a cool notion, and then had like nothing to do with that in this episode. I'm just not digging it. It feels like last season to me for some reason. And because of that, I really fear that the final episode of the season is not going to come through in a good way. So I hope they do, but yeah, I don't know. I've had a lot of mixed emotions. I really hated this show going into season 2. Didn't like it, and then really started enjoying myself. So I don't know. To go back to not enjoying it, I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know how to
Well,
give this
a
season
bit.
an overall rating. If I were to give this episode 1, I give it a 3. It was not great. Pacing was pretty off, and a lot of the changes from the book were not good in this one. But sorry, go right ahead. If anyone knows the
No, you
books,
just
the flicker thing, they did it so wrong. So wrong. Sorry, go
the
right
taint.
ahead. Sir.
The taint.
The
You
taint
just
is there, but yeah.
you got to keep in mind, like, a bad season of television is a lot like an abusive relationship. Like, they'll beat the shit out of you over and over again until you're like right at the end and you're ready to leave, and then they do something really nice and some kind of grand gesture, and then you stay. And that's what, like, a season is just like the abuser, because that finale, they're probably going to give you just what you want, everything you need. They're going to give you, and
I don't
then
know. If last season was anything
they're going
to
to
show me,
disappoint you
like they
again for
did
another
not.
season. No,
I think they probably
oh,
will disappoint me, but I'm holding out hope that they
hopefully,
could do something cool
yeah,
with it. But
hopefully,
yeah, looking forward to the
they
finale. I think
they
it's
learn
this
their
week.
lesson.
I hope so.
Uh,
I hope they
so
do not do it wrong. There's glimpses of this that were good, so potential.
I
Sorry,
have
go right ahead, sir. I spoke over you
that's
again.
okay. You you just don't respect me, and I'm gonna have to move
One of
on.
these days, I might.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's work on that for the future. The I have two more. I have two more to review. Should we review them both, or should we
Sure.
hold one? It's up to you.
Uh,
And they're short. They're
let's
pretty
hold
short
one of them.
reviews. Hold one.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So then
Let's hold one for
so then
next
what I'll
time.
do is because we already talked about it, so the one we'll hold for next time will be Blue Beetle. I watched that last night.
Ooh, I do actually want to know that. Okay, I want to watch that. Let's compare. Let's do a Blue Beetle review months after it's out. That sounds perfect.
Okay.
We'll do that one next time.
Okay, fine. So what are you doing, lines? So
I spilled coffee all over my floor, and I was trying to pick it up before.
oh,
That would be
no.
awesome.
Do you need to take a
No.
break?
No, I'm good. I was trying
Okay.
to seamlessly
So
pick it up, but apparently it didn't work out. So sorry,
No,
sir. You said
no,
you
it's
saw another
fine.
movie.
No, so this is the M Night Schlam.
Oh,
This is M Night Shyamalan.
I'm so sorry. I totally cut you off, and you were talking about the Shyamalan.
Yeah, it's M Night Shyamalan.
The M Night.
So M Night, people may or may not be aware of this. This is how he's going to subvert your expectation here. It's a series. It's not a movie. So he
Oh,
put together a series called The Servant, and let me just tell you, it's pretty fucking good. Like
really?
the main kind of storyline going on here, and I'll give you kind of like a little quick synopsis of the first episode, and then people can decide if they want to move forward. I'm currently the episodes are
Okay.
short; they're about a half hour. I'm currently
Not
season
bad.
3, I think, episode 2. So the basic story here, and I don't know, I fuck things up, so sometimes maybe I give things away. I don't know, but they don't give too much shit away. But whatever. They so it's about this woman who's a news reporter and her husband who is a like a master culinary chef. Like he's the guy that like you hire to like almost do the science behind your food and like like
Nice.
make things like lobster ice cream and like balsamic infused candied crickets, things like that. So they're very, very wealthy, live in a beautiful home, super fucking high strung people with a baby, with an infant, and they're looking for a nanny to help because the mother is just like the mother is the redhead that was on that show. Was it Dexter? Like Ambrose or something weird is her fucking name. Somebody on chat will know.
Huh.
So anyway, so that's the mother. And the father, I can't I recognize him some, but I don't know. But so anyway, so they're looking for a nanny, and they hire this young fairly attractive but weird fucking girl. I think she's from like Wisconsin or something. And so I don't think I'm spoiling anything here. So they hire this fucking nanny, and the nanny comes in to see the baby, and the baby is lifeless. It's a doll. It's
Oh
like a
no.
rubber fucking realistic doll. Um, and the father's like, you know, our son Jericho died tragically suddenly, and she can't accept it. So we got this doll to help her get over the process. Can you just play
Wow.
along?
And they've
And
got a servant to play along. Wow. That
yeah,
it seems like it's
so they
going
got
quite
a
far.
nanny,
Okay.
and yeah,
I'm
it's
intrigued.
fucked up. And so the father's like, he's drinking a bit, he's having a hard time with the situation, and like, he's got the doll, and the mother's like, oh, okay, all right, and like hands him off to the father, and then she's like, oh, I gotta pee, I gotta run another. And he runs out of the room, and of course the father's like, throws the thing over his and beating it around, and so then the nanny rolls in and is treating the baby like up, and the mother walks out of the room. But when the mother walks out of the room, the nanny still keeps up the fucking facade of the baby being alive. And the father's like, you don't have to do that shit. And she's like, no, no, no. Like, what do you mean? Jericho needs me. He's like, he needs to be burped. And she's like,
Mhm.
never mind, I'm taking. But
This is
like,
my job.
yeah. And like full on, the mother will leave and go to work. And this fucking nanny's treating this thing like it's real as could be. And now this might be a spoiler, but this show's been on for 4 years. So, and it's only the first episode. I'm gonna spoil. But so then,
Okay.
this is all going on. The father's like, I can't fucking handle this shit, and blah blah blah. And all of a sudden, the fucking baby comes to life, and it's alive. It's a live fucking baby. It's we don't know. We don't know
So
where the
the
fuck this
dad
baby came
threw a
from.
live baby behind the chair?
No, we don't know. Like, I don't fucking know. No idea. I
Huh.
don't know. I don't know if the baby turns back and forth, if it's a
Okay.
different baby, if it's the same baby, if it's but this fucking nanny knows some shit and also seems to have some
Or a magical
ability.
nanny.
She has some
Yeah.
abilities, but maybe they're not all good. And maybe like you piss her off, the wrong things might happen to you. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Huh.
very
Okay, that sounds
exciting
really intriguing to me.
television.
Very much
Yeah.
more compelling and I don't know, it's got its hooks in me more than the village for sure. That's interesting. Okay, so
Yeah.
you're on to season 3, episode 2. So it seems to have hooked you at least a bit to where you're getting through
Yeah.
like 3 seasons of this.
So
If
I
you were to
think it's
kind of
into
give
the
it a
fourth
rating so
now.
far, nice.
I'd give it like a 4 out of 5 or maybe 3. Oh, I forgot the best
Really?
part.
Nice.
The best
Yes.
part is one of the best characters in it is the brother of the crazy wife. Because the wife is off her fucking trolley in the show, and she does it so well. Holy shit, she's crazy.
Nice.
But and then there's like a cult and stuff. There's all shit going on. I can't tell you too much more though. But the brother
There's always a
is
cult going on.
yeah, there's always a cult somewhere. The brother is fucking Ron Weasley. Ron
Oh my
Weasley
god.
is the actor.
Um, yeah, I'm trying to Rupert, no,
Rupert
Rupert
Grint.
I swear his
Rupert
name's
Grint.
that's it. That's it. I was gonna give
And
him,
he's
like, one of the other
fucking
2 famous Rupert's
awesome.
names.
He's awesome. He's
Nice. I haven't seen that kid in anything since then,
I
so,
know. He
I
like
know
did one
he's been
shit
a couple,
movie.
but I have not caught them. Yeah,
Yeah,
there
and
was, like, one shit movie that I saw, and, yeah, that's about it. So, that's awesome, and especially if he's not coming off, bad. I hear, it hasn't been as easy on, Malfoy, if you will,
let me just tell
Draco.
you. Yeah, I know. I've heard that kid's life's horrible, but I think puberty hit that kid hard. But Ron Weasley, let me just tell you, fucking holy shit, this kid. Well, he's a man. He's a grown man now, but he's still as ginger as fuck.
He will always
And
be a ginger
yeah,
boy to me.
yeah, he's a sweet ginger boy, and he plays this like pompous, kind of like holier than thou businessman, wealthy, extremely wealthy, but also very
Hmm,
like sneaky, maybe lecherous. That he's like he's always like trying to glom onto their shit. Like and he's a full
hmm.
blown alcoholic, possible addict, and he plays it like so fucking well. And again, somebody with a history of
Wow.
some drinking issues, um, he fucking does it right. And he's like, like I can remember nights like this, like just fueling through with the booze, like just pounding it down to like keep your fucking self going. And holy shit, he does it right. And he's like,
Wow.
you also though feel for the character. You're not just like, oh, he's mean drunk and he's funny. It's like you get that he's like in a tremendous amount of pain. I was just very impressed by him. And I said, you know what he was in recently? He was in, I think it was another Schlam Schlong movie. That weird one where they like show up to a cabin or something. All right, wasn't he in that?
I didn't see that one.
I saw it.
I'm not
It's
sure.
it sucks. You should
Old
watch
was
it.
the last one that I saw, and it was
That sucks too.
I don't know. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that one. Yeah, you've pretty much convinced me on this one, and the fact that it's got Ron Weasley in it. I'm gonna check this one out, but I'm definitely gonna finish Crowded Room by next time. But yeah, I might want to kind of give my review on the Servant next time.
This one's nice because it's a half hour per episode, so it's not like you're like, oh,
That sounds
I'm
really
dozing
good to
off.
me.
Let me watch. I can't start one. You know what I mean? Because it's little 28 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah, it's compact.
Well, hell yeah.
Each episode has a tremendous amount of shit happening. But again, this is an M. Lam movie, and you're not getting any fucking answers like when you want them. And it's funny because I told you I went out to like lunch for my son's birthday again this weekend. My sister Danielle was there, and she's like, "Oh, are you watching The Servant?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Let me tell you," and I'm like, "Don't tell me shit," because I'm like, "You're gonna ruin things." And she's like, "No, I fucking won't. I won't ruin it." And I'm like, "All right, what do you want to tell me?" She's like, "Well, all the questions that you had in season 1, you're gonna have in season 3 and possibly 4." And I'm like, fuck you! Like, why would you? And like my girlfriend and I actually had to come home and
Night Shyamalan. Like,
yeah. But
you're not gonna find out till the very end.
Exactly. And my girlfriend, but that's the thing is, the better the show is, the better it does, the less likely it's gonna end. The more likely you're never gonna know what the fuck's going on.
So then, are you ever going to? Is it just going to be stretched out nothingness?
Right. Which is my fear. But
I think Lost could have run a little bit leaner, in my opinion. But
they could have taken that one season out with the weirdos, where they like added extra people.
Well, I mean, the original cast was doing other stuff.
Yeah, they're busy getting busted.
Well, that's awesome, man. I'm definitely going to check out The Servant. But yeah, I think we'll have a slightly more in-depth, low-effort review next time. But oh yeah. All right. Well, I think that about brings up this next segment.
What the hell is even that?
So, the thing that we wanted to talk about this week, actually, you're the one who suggested this, so you're going to be the one kind of explaining it. But soft language, it's a phrase that was coined by the American comedian George Carlin to describe euphemistic expressions that conceal reality, to take the life out of life. As Carlin put it, Americans have trouble facing the truth, so they invent a kind of soft language to protect themselves from it. The euphemisms that he was talking about, they soften the impact of something shocking, crude, ugly, or embarrassing, something along those lines. Ed Carlin's main point with this is that indirect language may spare us some discomfort, but at the cost of vividness and expressiveness. And, it really seems kind of rampant today. But, yeah, the thing that kind of spurred this, excuse me.
Sparked it?
Was, yes, the thing that sparked this. There we go. I was just in between spark and spur. But, yeah, the thing that really sparked this was kind of George Carlin's bit. I think we're probably all familiar with it, but what a classic, you know?
I don't like words that hide the truth. I don't like words that conceal reality. I don't like euphemisms or euphemistic language. And American English is loaded with euphemisms because Americans have a lot of trouble dealing with reality. Americans have trouble facing the truth. So they invent a kind of a soft language to protect themselves from it. And it gets worse with every generation. For some reason, it just keeps getting worse. I'll give you an example of that. There's a condition in combat. Most people know about it. It's when a fighting person's nervous system has been stressed to its absolute peak and maximum, can't take any more input. The nervous system has either snapped or is about to snap. In the First World War, that condition was called shell shock. Simple, honest, direct language. 2 syllables. Shell shock. Almost sounds like the guns themselves. That was 70 years ago. Then a whole generation went by, and the Second World War came along, and the very same combat condition was called battle fatigue. 4 syllables now. Takes a little longer to say. Doesn't seem to hurt as much. Fatigue is a nicer word than shock. Shell shock. Battle fatigue. Then we had the war in Korea, 1950. Madison Avenue was riding high by that time, and the very same combat condition was called operational exhaustion. Hey, we're up to 8 syllables now. And the humanity has been squeezed completely out of the phrase. It's totally sterile now. Operational exhaustion. Sounds like something that might happen to your car. Then, of course, came the war in Vietnam, which has only been over for about 16 or 17 years. And thanks to the lies and deceit surrounding that war, I guess it's no surprise that the very same condition was called post-traumatic stress disorder. Still 8 syllables, but we've added a hyphen. And the pain is completely buried under jargon. Post-traumatic stress disorder. I'll bet you, if we'd have still been calling it shell shock, some of those Vietnam veterans might have gotten the attention they needed at the time. I'll bet you that. I'll bet you.
No, that's super powerful to me. The way that he's set this up is just kind of so amazing, and then the way that he kind of ends this and is able to throw in a message in there without being too preachy.
Yeah.
He's really got a point. And then the way that he had those observations, like shell shock, even kind of sounds like it's being fired out of a gun. That is really interesting. The one thing that and I understand, like it's a comedic bit. The one thing that I just kind of wonder, does shell shock sound more humane or more human than post-traumatic stress disorder or occupational I can't remember what the euphemism before post-traumatic stress was, but I don't know, does that necessarily sound more human? It definitely seems to be getting less human. It seems like they are stripping the humanity out of it in a way with the more, I don't know, robotic, more corporate speak version of it. But I don't know. I understand his whole point, but I don't know how human shell shock really sounds to me.
How do you mean? What do you mean?
wanna-
What do you mean when you keep saying that
Oh
shell
no,
shock?
do we get? Like, it was just a line, like I guess a throwaway line where he said like it removed the humanity from it. So one of the quotes that I have is also the same thing. Like it takes the soft language as a phrase, that's used to conceal reality and take the life out of it. So that's kind of what he was saying about again occupational something. I can't remember what the other 8-syllable one was before that, the one without the hyphen. But he was saying that kind of took
operational
the
exhaustion.
life out of it. Fair enough. I could kind of see that. I just don't. Thank you. I felt like such an ass for not being able to remember that. But yeah, it was just making me wonder: does shell shock feel like it has more life in it than occupational exhaustion? I don't know. I could see the argument for it, but again, it seems rather nitpicky.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
You're saying like it's taking the humanness out of the situation, but it's not. It's not that. He's saying that it's taking the reality out of the situation, and I don't think that you can get more concise than saying shell shock because the person is in shock from fucking shells exploding all around them.
Yes.
It's you're
No,
you're
and I
shell
agree
shock.
with you.
That's the it's not you're not in shock because shells exploding around you, but it's like the most
I think you would
it's a
have
probably
less
terrifying thing
people
there.
also co-opting the term as saying, yeah. So I definitely understand what you're saying and what he's saying. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would just wonder if shell shock really has more life in it. But I understand what you're saying. Like it does seem to actually describe what it is more. But again, it is
Yeah.
kind of confrontational of a word. It's not
But it's
flowery.
real.
But yeah, it would be rather nitpicky to go down the route that I was saying. Yeah, it definitely seems more real. And when you have like the other way that he describes it, I definitely would kind of see that. And again, I'm being an ass. This is a great bit that he has really worked out. And I don't know, it is just such a masterpiece. It is amazing that
Well, it is.
they're able to kind of put this animatic together with it. But just him explaining it on stage is just amazing.
Yeah, like that's what I think. Like I joke around, and I've said in the past about Carlin that I really think that everybody's always like, oh, he'd lean left or more left, and or he'd do this to the right, and I do think that he'd be way like really put off by a lot of like the newer. I don't want to use the forbidden word, woke, but like the woke
Exactly. But I know what
terminology.
you mean. Like, kind of, would he be PC? I think things like this would show that he doesn't like that kind of fake
No,
flowery language.
like
That he doesn't like these
I
soft euphemisms. This soft language is not something that he's a fan of, and that seems to
yeah,
be something that goes hand in hand with the woke thing. But
I could see I could
I
see him
couldn't tell
doing
you whether
like
or not he would be swept up in it.
I can see him doing like a bit now, like, and being like, we used to have a man. We had men, a man. Now we have a cis heteronormative male. That's more comfortable for everyone. Everyone comfortable with the cis heteronormative male. God forbid we have a man. Like, I could see him just running with that bit.
Yeah,
Like, and I'm not saying
I definitely
whatever.
could
You
see
want to
that
call yourself
too.
whatever the
But
fuck you
there's
want, but
yeah, and I would hate to give a label and say like, I definitively know this. Because I don't know, there were some other ones who were definitely, I would call them like anti-system, like, they weren't ones going along with the government prior to this. But since the whole disease that can't be named, and since 2016, it feels like a lot of people have just jumped on board with either government or whatever the popular notion is.
which
I
disease
don't
that
know.
can't be
I would
named?
like to think that he wouldn't get swept up in it. COVID, the one that took a couple years
Oh,
from us.
I thought you meant
It just seems like
monkeypox
with the
because they changed
masking
it.
and, like the getting shots. No, that's the other one that can't be named. Um, it just seems like a lot of people kind of were suddenly for the system. They were like previously anti-system or appeared to be anti-system, big business. But then they were all in on
Yeah.
this, there's only one way to cure it type deal. So I don't know. I would like to think he wouldn't get swept up in this, but there's a lot of people that I was definitely wrong about that I would have
Yeah.
thought wouldn't get
Yeah,
swept
absolutely.
up in it as well. But I think something like this really
Swoked.
shows that, he probably wouldn't have gone with it because he didn't like this kind of soft language, so to speak. But,
Mhm.
it's hard to say. It really.
But it didn't happen. And one of the reasons is because we were using that soft language, that language that takes the life out of life. And it is a function of time. It does keep getting worse. Give you another example. Sometime during my life, toilet paper became bathroom tissue. I wasn't notified of this. No one asked me if I agreed with it. It just happened. Toilet paper became bathroom tissue. Sneakers became running shoes. False teeth became dental appliances. Medicine became medication. Information became directory assistance. The dump became the landfill. Car crashes became automobile accidents. Partly cloudy became partly sunny. Motels became motor lodges. House trailers became mobile homes. Used cars became previously owned transportation. Room service became guest room dining. And constipation became occasional irregularity. When I was a little kid, if I got sick, they wanted me to go to the hospital and see the doctor. Now they want me to go to a health maintenance organization or a wellness center to consult a healthcare delivery professional. Poor people used to live in slums. Now the economically disadvantaged occupy substandard housing in the inner cities. And they're broke. They're broke. They don't have a negative cash flow position. They're fucking broke. Because a lot of them were fired. Fired. Management wanted to curtail redundancies in the human resources area. So many people are no longer viable members of the workforce. Smug, greedy, well-fed people have invented a language to conceal their sins. It's as simple as that. The CIA doesn't kill anybody anymore. They neutralize people. Or they depopulate the area. The government doesn't lie. It engages in disinformation. The Pentagon actually measures nuclear radiation in something they call sunshine units.
I don't know. Is that the same as soft language? So would the Patriot Act or something where they choose give an antonym and name it that way? Would that be soft language? It feels like that's more like political strategy. But would you put that in the same type of deal, like a sunshine unit or disinformation as opposed to lying to you?
Yeah,
It
I
feels like
mean,
that's more of like a political spin.
yeah,
Is that
it's
the same? Is spin the same
no,
as
it
soft
seems like
language?
soft. Yeah, no, it's not the
Okay,
same, but
fair
I
enough.
don't think that those are the same as spin in that circumstance anyway. But I can see what you're saying, where it could be misinterpreted or misconstrued that way in
I'm
other.
just wondering. Hmm. So do you have like a strong feeling on like soft language? Do you think it would be better if we called it like units of radiation as opposed to like sunshine units, or if we said like this is a governmental lie campaign instead of disinformation or something? I don't know. Would more direct language be better, or would it somehow make things
I
more
mean,
confrontational?
there's obviously like language evolves, but the two things here are not the same. It's like a what do you call
For
that? Like a
sure.
false equivalency, almost in my mind, like disinformation and
Yeah.
sunshine
Well, I
units. Like
definitely gave you a false
sunshine units,
dichotomy of
yeah, there's like an actual thing. I don't know
yeah.
what it is, but there's an actual measurement of what that is, and I don't think it's called sunshine units. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but yeah,
No, I think you're
disinformation.
right.
It's a lie. Like you're lying.
For sure. But I mean, is there a do you think there's a benefit to having this soft language, or do you think it's just we've gotten weaker? I don't know. Do you think it's having a negative effect on people? If we did, say like radiation units or something, would that make us a stronger person, or is it just the evolution of language? I know I'm asking you kind of a heavy question here that I'm not sure if
Yeah,
either of
no,
us know the
I
answer
mean,
to.
I would assume that if you were I would assume that if it's your fucking job to either measure this or have to use this radiation in some way, that you're not going to want to call it like deadly fucking radiation. You're going to want to call it something else. But sunshine units to me is a bit far cry. It's a really heavy example, and I don't know really if that's something that's used or if it's like I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know where it I
I'm
don't know
not as
enough about it.
familiar as I should have been. I should have done a little bit more research for
Yeah,
this one, but
we did,
uh,
but that's
same.
fine.
But
I mean,
I don't know.
but I'm
The
trying to
other
think of
ones talking
something
about
like
though, like for instance, like
mhm,
shell shock and post traumatic stress disorder. I don't know. Could it? So I could understand like people saying like, well, I wasn't actually in the shelling. Like I was just near there, so I
yeah.
couldn't have possibly gotten that. Where maybe more people would be apt to actually say like, well, yeah, I mean, I was in a traumatic event, and this is after that, so maybe I have post traumatic stress disorder. I don't know. Could there be a certain utility to having a softer language? Like, could it make, like, for instance, in that condition, could it make it more obtainable, acceptable for somebody to get diagnosed?
Uh, like what gets to me, and I think what he was kind of getting to too, and I don't know if it's a bad thing or a good thing, but like I think about it a lot. Like we don't say, like you said, like we don't say janitor anymore. We say custodian. Like you don't call them garbage man. They're sanitation. Like I wonder how much of this like soft language was just to like not make people feel bad about shit they probably didn't feel bad about in the first place. Um, but I think that's kind of what it's evolved to, and I don't think that George Carlin would have been like, hey, you know what? That's cool. Let's just make up like I know this is a really hot take and a strong stance, but I think George Carlin would have been like, get your fucking pronouns out of my face, or like, why do I need pronouns on like a Zoom call, like or on your LinkedIn? Like that would be something he'd be like, what do I get? What do I care if you're a she or a him or a shim or a, he'd be like, what do you do? Can you fix my car? Like I feel like he would not be as
It
comfortable with
definitely feels like that could
that
be a
sort of soft
soft
language that applies
aspect
today.
to society or whatever. I can
Yeah,
definitely see that viewpoint for sure.
but I will have to
Sorry
get deeper into
for
Carlin because
jumping in and
there's a
leaving a
lot
bunch of
that
space.
that's okay.
Yeah, and I
We
mean this one is just
I
like
haven't
one
watched
from
enough
his
of his shit in a long
'90s
time.
special, and
Yeah,
he has so many good ones, and then like his books too. Yeah, I remember When Will
yeah,
Jesus Bring Us the Pork Chops, or Bring the Pork Chops. He has some great books out there, and then like even his daughter has some books about comedy and kind of him. I don't know, just such an interesting thinker. But yeah, I love kind of the idea behind bits like this. Uh,
yeah.
I guess let's let it play a little bit more, and then I'll probably.
Israeli murderers are called commandos. Arab commandos are called terrorists. Contra killers are called freedom fighters. Well, if crime fighters fight crime and firefighters fight fire, what do freedom fighters fight? They never mention that part of it to us, do they? Never mention that part of it. And some of this stuff is just silly. We all know that. Like on the airlines, they say they want a pre-board. Well, what the hell is pre-board? What does that mean? To get on before you get on? They say they're going to pre-board those passengers in need of special assistance. Cripples! Simple, honest, direct language. There's no shame attached to the word cripple that I can find in any dictionary. No shame attached to it. In fact, it's a word used in Bible translations. Jesus healed the cripples. Doesn't take 7 words to describe that condition. But we don't have any cripples in this country anymore. We have the physically challenged. Is that a grotesque enough evasion for you? How about differently abled? I've heard them called that, differently abled. You can't even call these people handicapped anymore. They'll say, we're not handicapped, we're handy-capable. These poor people have been bullshitted by the system into believing that if you change the name of the condition, somehow you'll change the condition. Well, hey, cousin, doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. We have no more deaf people in this country, hearing impaired. No one's blind anymore, partially sighted or visually impaired. We have no more stupid people. Everybody has a learning disorder. Or he's minimally exceptional. How would you like to be told that about your child? He's minimally exceptional. Oh, thank God for that. Psychologists actually have started calling ugly people those with severe appearance deficits. It's getting so bad that any day now I expect to hear a rape victim referred to as an unwilling sperm recipient. And we have no more old people in this country. No more old people. We shipped them all away, and we brought in these senior citizens. Isn't that a typically American 20th century phrase? Bloodless, lifeless. No pulse in one of them. A senior citizen. But I've accepted that one. I've come to terms with it. I know it's here to stay. We'll never get rid of it. That's what they're going to be called, so I'll relax on that. But the one I do resist, the one I keep resisting, is when they look at an old guy and they'll say, look at him, Dan. He's 90 years young. Imagine the fear of aging that reveals. To not even be able to use the word old to describe someone, to have to use an antonym. And fear of aging is natural, it's universal, isn't it? We all have that. No one wants to get old, no one wants to die, but we do. So we bullshit ourselves. I started bullshitting myself when I got to my 40s. As soon as I was in my 40s, I'd look in the mirror and I'd say, well, I guess I'm getting older. Older sounds a little better than old, doesn't it? Sounds like it might even last a little longer. Bullshit, I'm getting old. And it's okay, because thanks to our fear of death in this country, I won't have to die. I'll pass away. Or I'll expire like a magazine subscription. If it happens in the hospital, they'll call it a terminal episode. The insurance company will refer to it as negative patient care outcome. And if it's the result of malpractice, they'll say it was a therapeutic misadventure. I'm telling you, some of this language makes me want to vomit. Well, maybe not vomit. Makes me want to engage in an involuntary personal protein spill. Thank you all.
So that final line is kind of the only part of that entire bit that I kind of disagree with. I don't think involuntary personal protein spill would mean vomiting to me. That to me might mean something else.
Yeah, I went to different direction there in my head as well.
I'd say we could make that a softer bit of language.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
that would be a
but other
hard
than
bit of
that, like
language
that
right there.
bit is just so brilliantly that bit is just like so brilliantly executed, so brilliantly worded. It's really hard to keep
Yeah.
pausing it to kind of transform it when it is just like so perfect. And
I know.
his, examples that he's using just go, I don't know, so smoothly into his next point on this whole thing. He does have a bunch of points. Is it just a fear of death? Why we can't say, somebody's 40 years old, I look old, instead it's I look older. I know I've definitely caught myself using weird euphemisms like that, softening the language instead of being honest, even when I'm talking to myself, which
Yeah.
I don't know. That is odd. I can't thank you enough for kind of saying like, let's look into this soft language thing. And Carlin has a real point on it. I know I definitely watched this special back in the day, but I haven't really thought
Yeah.
about this bit in a while. But oh my God, just his examples, just one after another, where it's like, yeah, even just saying like, from insurance point of view, it's a negative patient outcome, not a death. I don't know. I can definitely understand where that strips the life out of, it takes the life out of that actual statement. But even when we're talking about it, we don't say the person has expired or they've died. Instead, it's they've passed away. We are
Passed
using
away.
this soft language to not have to deal with death, even when it's, just us talking about it. I don't know. That is interesting. Do you think that's the evolution of language, or do you think it's just us wanting to be more? I don't know. I guess that would be a false dichotomy. Do you think that is just an evolution in language?
I think that I don't know if you want to. Maybe it is an evolution in language, but I think really it's just a matter of people being like every generation of this country is just a little bit more soft and tender. So it's like it's just a continuation. Eventually, they'll get so soft. Everyone will get so soft, but between language and everything else, and there'll be a few hardcore people out there, and they'll rule the whole fucking world. I mean, I honestly, this whole bit gets me with him because again, the thing that made me think of it was that like people are always like, he would be, hardcore for these issues, or he would be, but I can't listen to this and listen to the examples he lays out and not think for a second that he would leave alone any of what goes on in the culture right now. There'd be no
Yeah.
way it would completely be like, and now we have transgenders, and like, I'm just doing his voice. I don't know.
Yeah.
He would definitely come up with
I
something better
can't
than just
not think that
transgender,
as well.
but he would,
Well, no, but, like you were
and go
mentioning
down the
with that
line.
whole, like,
of everything.
cis het male, like, yeah, I don't disagree. It seems like he doesn't necessarily like these, kinda ways that we soften things as
Yeah,
opposed to,
it's a man.
making them more, yeah, for sure.
And
I think he
he'd be
likes,
laughing that that a man was so terrifying. We have to change the name of it to cis hetero. Was it cis heteronormative male? Like
yeah,
that.
I mean,
He'd
that's
laugh
one
at
way that
that.
you can look at it now. Yeah, for sure, and it just makes me wonder, what would he be like today? I agree with you. I really think, this and a few of his other bits, really show that he doesn't like this kind of, messing with language where,
Yeah,
like, you're using the antonym to actually describe the same thing. Again, like the, 40 years young or 90 years young.
yeah.
It's like, why are we even fooling ourselves with this? And I would have to think that some of these culture issues he would have that same view on based off of his stance on language, but
You
again,
never
I could
know.
be wrong. There were quite a few comedians that I thought for sure would, still be anti-system, and they
Yeah,
seem to have just completely turned. Like, for instance, like I wouldn't exactly say Amy Schumer is anti-system or anything like that, but she was definitely very not woke or whatever. And a
right.
lot of the things that I've seen, especially during like the Me Too movement, I don't know. I guess it's not where I would have thought that her progression of her career would have gone, but I can definitely understand why she jumped on board with some of those movements. But
He's
it just
tired
kind
of
of makes me
walking.
wonder: would he well, I mean, uh, it just makes me wonder, could he be influenced by those around him? There were some others that I didn't think would, and it seems like they did.
Yeah,
You
well, a lot
definitely
of
have a
it. I think a
social
lot of it was
pressure to kind of
tied
join the
to
group,
a lot of, not just social pressure, but a lot of it was tied to paychecks for a lot of these people.
for sure.
But I don't know. You never know.
But
Maybe we need like an AI Carlin or something.
well, and I think there are people who are definitely more expert
Yeah,
than us
yeah.
on Carlin.
I know a guy.
Someone. Yeah, I know one too, and he happened to bring up a point that a lot of people seem to forget that Carlin was the second guy arrested. Everyone remembers Lenny
Yeah,
Bruce, but
Lenny Bruce.
sitting in the car along with him was Carlin. So I would think that perhaps he wouldn't give in to social pressure, but it's really hard to say. Everyone was kind of in their own place with everything that was going on, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hey,
It's hard to.
I judged Brie Larson wrongly. I got
So
I
did
got
I.
social pressured into
I
that.
still have.
I'll change your mind yet.
Well, I might need to. I might need to change my opinion on it. I will check out the Glass Castle and
Yeah. Free fire.
Free Fire. I had it written down and it looked like Fee Fire to me, but Free
Fee
Fire.
fi fo fum.
So I will check out both of those, and then once I've Fee Fi Fo Fummed, I will perhaps reassess my Brie Larson
Perfect.
opinion. Yeah.
Brie Larson.
Um, but yeah, just with Carlin, I don't know. I think you were correct. I think a lot of what we're seeing with this kind of political correct thing, he would have been against,
Yeah.
just due to the fact that he seemed to want language to be more precise, and I think a lot of what we're doing isn't as precise. So perhaps he wouldn't be on board with this, but again, like we've said 1,000 times, I guess I just don't know. Again, I'm not a good judge of character, apparently.
Yeah. You're a piece of
I've been wrong many a time. It's true.
shit.
Well, I think next, kind of on a related subject, I had a little talk with Jab. So, yeah, let's take a look at that. So I wanted to have Patrick here going over this with me. Unfortunately, he had to step away, but we were supposed to have a very special guest, the producer of the show, Mr. Jab Slant. However, we had extreme connection issues, and we just were not able to get him on this one. So Patrick will be back in just a minute. But yeah, I wanted to kind of go over this short video with you guys. So let's let Daniela kind of explain this situation.
Hello, everyone. Given the unprecedented events at this year's Oscars and the responses that followed, I think this is a great time to talk about the concept of punching up versus punching down. If you don't know me, I am Daniela Sioni, a comedy screenwriting teacher who has one of the few, if not the only, screenwriting punch-up courses in the world. Now,
That's kind of cool. So she's a former comedian who is now a screenwriting teacher and a screenwriting punch-up teacher. So that is pretty unique, and that does kind of qualify her to definitely speak on this situation. So I'd be very interested to kind of hear her opinion on this whole concept of punching up and punching down. So please, Daniela, keep explaining.
where it just now, while we're at a juncture in comedy history where it just needs to be said. Stop punching down. Unless you are a roast comic, specifically working a roast show, it's not.
Ooh, okay, so that sounds not good to me. That sounds very gatekeepery to basically say that, anytime you're punching down, it can only be in a roast comedic fashion, only in that setting of doing some sort of comedic roast battle. To me, that feels super gatekeepering. Essentially, basically saying that no form of comedy that doesn't match her strict standards of you're only punching up. I don't know. That just seems to me, that seems like a bridge too far to make that broad, sweeping rule that comedy has to be a certain way. I think it's going to be harder if you are doing something that could be perceived punching down. You would have possibly, I don't know, some sort of perceived imbalance on that. So it is something that you'd better be funny at it. Otherwise, it's definitely going to come off as mean or insensitive, something along those lines. But to say it shouldn't be done, I don't know. That just feels entirely too. I guess the only word that I can come up with it is being a gatekeeper of comedy, saying this comedy is acceptable, this comedy cannot be done, unless it is under this one stipulation, this one particular venue where it's no holds barred. That's the only time you can do that. As one who has kind of, I definitely have gate kept comedy. It was more as a way to insult somebody in particular by saying what they do is not actually comedy. That was really shitty of me. I think this is also shitty of Daniela here to basically be the arbiter of what is acceptable. I think, the audience is that arbiter. If they're laughing, that's what is acceptable in comedy. If it was successful, hey, the audience is laughing. If it wasn't successful, you probably got some angry people thinking that you're just being mean. I think you run that risk, but that doesn't mean that this should not be done or that form of comedy should not exist. But maybe she'll explain it a little bit further, and I'm just being a little close-minded on this.
So, first of all, I need to come clean that I had a very shocked reaction to that Oscar moment, and it wasn't.
Dana, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? Richard. Oh, wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
And it wasn't because of what Will Smith did. It was because of what Chris Rock said in the first place. I knew.
Wow. So obviously I edited down that event just a little bit, and this video in particular. She did talk about a couple other subjects, so I just kept it onto the Will Smith Chris Rock part. But I don't know. That incident, just watching it again, I hadn't seen it since it originally kind of happened, and then there was that whole controversy. So it's been a while since this is since I've actually laid eyes on this actual incident. But wow, I remembered it being so much more of a joke instead of just this throwaway. I do believe, just based off of somebody's appearance, hey, their hairstyle, it's currently bald, so you've got a limited set of options as to what you could do. G.I. Jane 2, looking forward to it. That I can understand how somebody could take offense to that, by all means. But that doesn't seem like it's an attack on somebody. It doesn't seem like it's attacking somebody's medical condition. Instead, it is an observation based off of someone's appearance and a slight association with, oh, right, Demi Moore was shaving her head. She had the shaved head. That is what G.I. Jane is kind of known for. I don't know. It seems like a weak joke, but I just can't see that it's being an attack on her medical condition, and then that it would justify any sort of, physical violence as retribution.
I knew immediately that the joke was a direct hit on Jada's medical condition in an industry where women's careers are historically punished way too harshly for so many things less significant than going bald.
So again, she's calling it a direct hit on a woman's medical condition. I can't see that happening in that particular fashion, just saying G.I. Jane 2, looking forward to it. So by that same logic, would every type of, incident like, could you never talk about somebody's, teeth because that could be a medical condition, like you don't know, perhaps they have something wrong with, the enamel or something so that they lose their teeth. So you couldn't talk about that, perhaps losing their hair, male pattern baldness. Is that all off limits because that could be a medical issue? It's something genetic. It's not something that people necessarily want. Could I mean, you would have to go down the line, like, so, okay, would someone's weight, would someone's height, like, you don't know, it could have been based off of, again, a medical condition where now, their height, they didn't grow to their full potential or something along those lines. I don't know. It just seems like that would cut off so many possibilities because you don't know, and you couldn't possibly know if a medical condition was associated with whatever you're seeing, and, a lot of these jokes are kind of visual jokes. So, does that mean nothing about somebody's appearance could ever be joked about because that could, in theory, be punching down? That seems very limited. Again, you do have to kind of know your audience, the people you're talking to. And I guess that would mean, perhaps you run the risk of offending them, but I think that's just fine. If you offend somebody, fine. I don't think that means that this thing should never be done because somebody could possibly get offended. It'll be up to you. Do I want to risk offending somebody? That seems the reasonable thing to me. But again, I'm just a fan of comedy. I would not consider myself a professional or anything like that. Just an enthusiast. But let's let her go on a little
But
bit.
where is the line where freedom of expression becomes a form of bullying, an abuse of power, and yes, even a kind of violence in its emotional impact on the viewer? And yes, I do believe there is a line in comedy. Normally, the audience will tell you where that line is, either by not laughing or not coming to your shows or by canceling their Netflix membership. In the old days, they would just throw rotten tomatoes at you. True story. Since the beginning of time, comedians have always been subject to the response of their audience. That is the nature of the game. And yes, it should go without saying, but I will say it because of the as yet unknown implications this incident has spawned. Physical assault is not one of the ways comedians should be accountable for what they say. Some people categorically rally around the idea that everything that comes out of a comedian's mouth is absolutely untouchable. And you would think that as someone who writes comedy that I would agree, but I don't. I believe
That is an interesting take. So I've heard this a whole bunch of times where if you say, no, I don't think particular jokes should be off limits, people are saying, so you think everything should be allowed? Well, not necessarily. We do have, laws like you're not supposed to incite violence. I think if a comedian's doing that, that definitely is a shitty thing. I think, you have the right to go ahead and boo the comedian. Some places don't allow you to do that. You do have to kind of see the venue that you're at and what they allow. But almost unanimously, no club allows heckling. It is something that will probably get you kicked out. I view a lot of what's going on akin to heckling instead of, just saying, I don't like this. Instead, it's kind of shouting down that actual comedian. That part is not the job of the audience, and the audience doesn't have a right to do that. This person has the stage. They do have the ability, in order to get comedy, you have to let them attempt comedy. A bad joke comes from the same place that a good joke comes from. You can't just have great jokes. In order to attempt something, you're going to have to fail a few times. And that's why you have to have these lanes open for the comedians. There is a way to do a joke about any subject well, but you're probably going to get some bad jokes along the way to get there. So, in order to leave that road open so that you could get to those good jokes, there has to be room for the bad ones. I don't think that means that, everything is acceptable, clearly we do have laws that, certain speech could incite violence or could call for violence. That is not acceptable. But everything else, it is just words. It is just a funny concept. I don't see those words as violence. I don't see that as a direct hit on a medical condition to just say, G.I. Jane 2, looking forward to it. It's not a great joke, but I don't see why that should be off limits. It just seems like a bridge too far to me. But it just, it seems like you would have to go with that whole barometer. And she talks about it. The audience will let you know. You'll know if you failed at a joke, if you're telling it to a whole crowd. And I think that's the thing. She's trying to say what jokes you can say, where I think it would make more sense if she said you have to be very particular about what situation you're telling these jokes in, because it could come off very wrong if you are in, you know, so she does kind of bring this up a little bit later about the actual situation where this is. I disagree with her, but if this were, perhaps a gala or something, maybe it wouldn't be the time to, or, say like a funeral. Maybe this wouldn't be the time to roast the person, but that is kind of what these events are. You have a host who's trying to be comedic. Often they take tiny shots, again, not trying to like character assassinate any of the audience, but they rib at them. I think that's what this is. I think that is an appropriate setting for it. When you think of, kind of the ones from the past that have stood out, it was ones where the celebrities were getting lambasted by the host. I don't know. It just seems a little odd to me. But let's let her keep going a little bit.
I believe the function of comedy is to make us think and change the world for the better, not to bully or alienate people by asserting our own power. Sometimes truly funny people rise to fame and then focus more on power tripping than comedy, and that is what I think hurts the profession in the long run. Many of my peers and students pointed out that an earlier joke made by Regina Hall on Oscar night about Jada and Will's open relationship was more brutal. So why did that one slide by unnoticed? Or what about Ricky Gervais's jokes at the Golden Globes 2020? They were much more cutting, so why did he get away with it? And why was I so at odds with this specific G.I. Jane joke made by Chris Rock? Here is the difference, and it is a difference that I think we all need to understand on a craft level as any kind of comedy writer. Gervais was punching up, Regina was punching up, or at least across, and whether he realized it or not, Chris Rock was punching down. Ricky Gervais did a hilarious job of lambasting an entire room of celebrities by taking aim at everyone's wealth, fame, and ridiculous lifestyle.
But that could be a stylistic choice between the two. So I do believe I have seen him as well poke fun at, the people's beliefs and everything. And I've definitely heard that, just attacking somebody's belief, but having them in a different category is also punching down on them. So I don't know that everybody has that same classification that she's having, where somehow this is punching down at a medical issue, but making fun of somebody's wealth or status or even relationship status is just fine and not as personal as, their medical status. I don't know. If you were to, make fun of any of my physical features, I think I'd be just fine with that, as opposed to if you were to make fun of like my significant other, my relationship, if you will. I think that's a much more personal choice. And I would definitely take more offense to the latter in that. It seems like that is, my actual chosen lifestyle, where this medical condition, I didn't choose it or anything like that. It is just something that happened. But what I am choosing is this lifestyle, this relationship or whatever. So I don't know, to attack that seems like it would be more personal than just like, a chance of fate, if you will. But I don't know, for her to say that, Ricky Gervais's thing was punching up. I didn't grab all the clips of it, but I just I can't agree. I just can't agree with her on that. I guess you'd have to say that all of those people are above Ricky Gervais, but if you listen to the way that he's lambasting them, he doesn't see them as above him. I don't see that as punching up. He's just making comedic observations. I would like her to explain it a little bit more, but yeah, she's going to go into it a little bit further.
He understands fully well that punching up gives him way more license to go as far as he can in that direction. Do you really think a man who rescues endangered animals is not aware that it's not okay to punch down? Have you ever heard him make a personal attack on someone's medical condition or lower status in society? I don't think so, because
you should punch up. You should never punch down. You should never punch down. Sometimes you've got to punch down. Like if you're beating up a disabled toddler. You know what I mean?
I think so, because he understands how comedy works and about where that line is.
That is a hilarious bit, but I think he does understand where the line is, and that was the whole reason why he did that whole bit. Again, it's a much longer bit. Check out Ricky Gervais. I believe it was Supernatural was that special, but he has an entire bit on punching up and punching down. I just did the smallest clip of that. But yeah, he definitely understands the concept, and I believe he disagrees with her, and that's why he literally talks about punching a disabled toddler. That is a medical condition. That is, a toddler, and he talks about, this is just metaphorical punching down. I don't physically punch them anymore. That didn't work. The audience didn't laugh. It's another joke at actually saying, haha, this is completely different than, physical violence. He sees the difference in these two. Again, it's not to at all, I don't know, take away from the brilliance that he has in that bit, but it seems perfectly obvious. That's, why he is doing this particular bit. He does literally bring up the physical and the metaphorical punching down, and he does both of them, and the audience laughs. And if the audience truly is the barometer of this, well, they were laughing at the Chris Rock bit. It wasn't a great laugh, but the audience was laughing. It wasn't like groans because he attacked her medical condition. Again, with this Ricky Gervais thing, the audience was really laughing at both the concept of him physically punching down and the concept of him metaphorically punching down. I think the audience has decided that that is comedy and that was acceptable. But somehow you're saying that those jokes shouldn't exist. And I don't think you're accurately portraying Ricky Gervais's opinion on this subject. But there's only a little bit left. Let's keep going on this.
Punching down means either denigrating an entire group of people who don't share your level of privilege, or it means kicking someone when they are down by mocking their trauma and misfortune.
So that could be what punching up and punching down means, but it's very unclear because a lot of people are using it a bunch of different ways, and it is in a bunch of different literature, a bunch of different meanings. It is kind of the whole power imbalance thing. So it does mean something different in a lot of different aspects of essentially where you'd bring this power dynamics into. I don't think that it necessarily is limited to the definition that you just said. I think some people are using it a lot more loosely, and I think some people are just putting, okay, well, historically, this group was on top, and this person belongs in a different group, so they're below you. I don't know. To me, it feels like that could be perpetuating these hierarchies as opposed to just leveling everything out. Um, I don't know. I don't understand how that would make things more equitable to only allow certain. So I thought the whole issue with why these power imbalances was wrong was because one group had more power than the other. They had more privilege, if you will, much like the privilege to be able to joke about the other group. So if we're just perpetuating that but switching it, isn't it still wrong? Wouldn't it be more correct to have, say a more let's go with egalitarian view on this that everyone can be joked about. There's a couple of great quotes that I'll bring up in just a bit, but yeah, that's kind of my view on it. But let's let her explain a little bit more about punching up and punching down.
Many people justified an attack on Jada Pinkett's illness as being...
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right?
People justified an attack on Jada Pinkett's illness as being fair game because the illness wasn't so severe and because she is rich and famous, overlooking the fact that she is an African-American woman and that African-American women's hair has been used to shame and denigrate them for centuries. Chris Rock even produced the documentary Good Hair about the very specific political and personal relationship between African-American women and their hair. And he still chose to make that specific joke with full knowledge of that. Hey, he's not perfect either, and I think he took ownership of that by not pressing charges against his friend Will Smith. In the
Wow, there is just so much said there that I disagree with. So first off, I don't think this was an attack on her medical condition. And yes, I think he realized that this is a black woman. I don't think that somehow escaped Chris Rock in this moment. I don't think, and again, it seems very strange to me that you would say this particular group cannot be made fun of at all because they had this particular thing in the past, not them personally, just, people that looked like them. So because of that, they cannot be equal in that, you can't joke with them. We can't use this as like a bonding experience where we're just like, teasing each other, joking, if you will. Uh, we can't do that. Instead, we have to infantilize them. They couldn't deal with this because there's been historical wrongs, not to them particularly, just based off of traits that I'm lumping them into this group. I don't know. That feels like a bridge too far to me. And then to make it say, again, she keeps framing this in ways that he's attacking her medical condition. I had no clue that she had any sort of medical condition. I don't know if Chris Rock did either. Again, it seems like a very easy throwaway joke. Who's one of the most famous bald women? Oh, that G.I. Jane thing. Demi Moore was on the cover of it with a shaved head. It was on the poster. Yeah, G.I. Jane too. There are many offensive ways that he could have gone with that. That's not very offensive. He could have called her like Uncle Fester or something. That could be offensive. There's many other ways that he could have gone with that. I don't think this was that offensive. I don't think this was attacking a medical condition. I think you're really reaching to get that conclusion out of this. But to then say that, because he produced a documentary and he is aware of, particulars with African American women's hair, somehow he should have known better than to actually make that joke. Again, that just seems like it's infantilizing an entire group that, you can never joke with them. They're not your equal. You must treat them with kid gloves. That feels wrong. And then to end this up by justifying it by saying, Chris Rock realized he was wrong, and that's why he didn't press charges. It could have nothing to do with the fact that, he's a comedian. And how would that look if, essentially you're pressing charges on one of the, I don't know, heavyweights in Hollywood, if you will. I mean, granted, they did physically assault you in front of everybody, but nothing happened at that event. They didn't kick him out. He was not arrested there. In fact, they gave Will Smith an award there. So after the fact, he would have to it would just come out like sour grapes, especially when he kind of played it off in the moment, and he did a very comedic response to, "Wow, I just got the shit slapped out of me." That was pretty awesome. I gotta be honest, I don't think I would have played it off in that same way. I think I would have, it's hard to say. I don't know if I would have, tried to fight back, but I would not have acted so cool as, Chris Rock did in that moment. I think, he showed a lot of poise, and then his comedic just core that he then made a joke about it and kind of, just played it off. Um, I don't know. I can't see this as being fair by saying, "Ha, you can even see that Chris Rock knows he was wrong because he didn't press charges." That's just a bridge too far.
In the context of a roast of Jada Pinkett Smith, where the whole point is that comedians cross every line imaginable as part of the entertainment, punching down would have been appropriate in that circumstance. But the Oscars is one of the biggest professional nights in the industry, and the whole world is watching. And the comic failed to put his words into the context of the event as a whole. And then Will Smith, of course, really broke context. So when comedians, especially experienced comedians, protest that they can say anything they want to, because how are they supposed to know who they are going to offend with the words that come out of their mouths? I have to wonder about that comedian's understanding of both humanity, their craft, and their own power. The audience will tell you where that line is, and it is part of our jobs as comedians to listen to the audience.
I think that is the thing. Like, it is the job of a comedian to listen to the audience. And she brought this up before as well. But Ricky Gervais's audience is laughing at that literal and the metaphorical and literal punching down jokes. He literally talks about physically assaulting a toddler with disabilities, and he does it in such a way and brings up the notion that it allows the audience to laugh at it. Yeah, the audience was laughing at Chris Rock's jokes. I just think it is extremely limiting, and I can't think of another term other than gatekeeper for someone who just says that certain jokes should not be allowed, that you can't even attempt this type of thing. I think, the more reasonable response would be, it's going to be tough. There is more of an uphill battle if you're going to do that, because it could be perceived as mean. It could be perceived as cruel. So you have a, tightrope to walk, so to speak. You must pull this off, and it's going to take more than, perhaps approaching a different subject. I think that would be reasonable, and you'd still be giving some sort of warning to the comedians that, this isn't the safest type of joke. If you're going to do this, you have the potential to make a big error, and also, it possibly could be really funny if you do pull this off. It's much harder attempt. The difficulty level of that joke surpasses, a more reasonable, easy joke, if you will. I think that would be more where I would go with the advice, but again, I'm not a professional. She is, but I think she is gatekeeping a certain type of comedy that I think can be really funny and has been historically. So I don't know. I'll let her finish up here, but I don't know. It just seems like she's talking out of both sides of her mouth when she says the audience will decide when they have, but she is deciding for the audience what you can present in front of them. I think that's the problem. I don't feel like those two answers are congruent.
To the audience. Script. If you're a comedian or a comedy writer wondering how on earth to navigate your act or your script, it's easier than you think. Just take a moment to look at your material and ask yourself, is each of your jokes punching up or are they punching down? And maybe, just maybe if they're punching down, just take a hot minute to rethink that joke. With great power comes great responsibility. As a former stand-up and now comedy writer, I am personally accountable for everything I write and everything I say. I am not above the audience and I am never intentionally punching down. All I'm saying is human compassion can be part of your comedic compass as well. Empathy and comedy are not mutually exclusive. You may disagree, but that's how I see it.
I don't think empathy and comedy are mutually exclusive, but I think they don't have to go hand in hand, where it seems like she is putting up these rigid guidelines that, you have to be empathetic with your comedy. Perhaps, the persona that you're going with, like an Anthony Jeselnik or something along those lines, like an offensive comedian or roast comedian, perhaps you're not looking to make that empathetic comedy. She could be talking about specifically screenwriting where you are looking for like a wider audience, but she didn't make that clear. Instead, she just said in comedy, and then she mentioned as a comedian, and then she keeps mentioning the audience knows this. Um, again, I'm repeating myself, but I just see this as, classic gatekeeping behavior that she's saying what is acceptable. She's saying that she's not above the audience, but at the same time, she is making herself the arbiter of what the audience can hear, and that certain types of jokes should not be put in front of any audience, with the exception of the one time that you're in a roast battle. Um, I do agree that roast jokes should be in a roast setting. You're not just going to go to like somebody's office and just start roasting people. That would be strange. If you were to again go to like a funeral and start roasting people, that would be odd. It could come off well. If it was like say a roast comedian's funeral or something, that could make sense. But generally, that would be taboo. But it seems like she's talking about comedians should have these guidelines of what they can and cannot say on stage. That to me seems just, I don't know, it seems arbitrary where she's setting these lines, and then it just seems like a bridge too far. Perhaps I'm seeing this wrong and I'm looking at this very close minded, but hmm, to me, it seems like she's not allowing a certain type of comedy, a wide swath of comedy, because it risks being offensive. Um, I don't know. I guess the whole idea of should a comedian be offensive, I think that's really up to the individual comedian, and I don't think it's up to her to decide what type of comedy should or shouldn't be allowed to be presented to an audience. Punching down requires you to consider yourself superior to another group. This is in reference to Dave Chappelle. He doesn't consider himself better than me in any way. He isn't punching up or punching down. He's punching lines. That's his job, and he's a master of his craft. That was Daphne Dorman's response when a lot of people said that that Dave Chappelle was punching down on trans. She was a trans woman, and this was her opinion on Dave Chappelle and his work. Um, Another quote that really comes to mind that really kind of sums up everything comes from Eric Weinstein, and that's, "If I cannot make fun of you, you are not my equal." I think that's my stance on comedy. Again, I am just a fan of it, but if you're going to have certain people or certain things that are off limit because of perceived imbalances, to me, that's just perpetuating it. I don't see how that gets us past it if all we're doing is focusing on it. But again, I'm just a comedy enthusiast, so that's just my opinion.
I mean, I was just like that. I don't know. I didn't necessarily agree with anything really she was saying. Besides that, that universally, Will Smith should have been shunned. Besides that, like, I don't agree with
Yeah,
the
and
punch
that
up, punch
people
down.
shouldn't be attacked for jokes or whatever.
Right.
Like
That, like,
comedians
physical
should not
violence
be
for,
physically assaulted for that.
yeah, physical violence versus words. Like, it just doesn't.
Yeah.
It's never going to be okay. So to have it even in the same conversation, maybe if she wanted to talk about punching down in reference to Chris Rock, but I still don't think that Chris Rock was. It falls back to intent because I still don't think Chris Rock was
Yeah.
goofing on a medical condition. I think he was goofing on a hairstyle. But
For
I don't know.
sure. And it also seemed like a throwaway joke. It's like, I don't know. So you got bald, so like what could you do? Like you could go to, there's
Yeah,
a few slight jokes that you could go to, but it's not that like G.I. Jane is about a medical condition or anything like that. I agree with you, and I think that's the way that Rock explained it, that it was
yeah,
based off of a hair comment. Essentially like what is the most famous female with a shaved head? Well, it would probably be that G.I. Jane movie. At least I don't know. I remember seeing that commercial a ton when I was a kid, and then they
yeah.
played that movie quite a bit. Um, so I don't know. I kind of get that, but I don't know. Did you have any thoughts as to if that would be punching down? Because apparently her hair condition is because of a medical condition, and then on top of that, she is a black woman, and black women have been traditionally,
Yeah, their hair.
oppressed because of their hairstyles. And then on top of that, it is also just a male who's going against a female who also has, females have a history of oppression. So it feels like there's multiple layers why she's saying that that was unacceptable for
Yeah.
him to joke about that. But then she mentions weird things like you could have joked about her lifestyle, so like her relationship. To me, my relationship would be so much more intimate and so much
Than
more
my
personal
hair.
than like my hair. Yeah, it's like so by those same things, like it's a medical condition when men go bald, male pattern baldness. So can you not mention that at all? Like, is
Ever.
cue ball offensive now? I don't know. I guess I just don't understand the whole idea that like certain things should be off limits. So we just can't do that. Um,
Well, I mean,
again, I'm not a comedian, but
there
and this is advice for comedians.
there is things though that are off limits. I it's whatever your line is. Where everyone has their own line,
For
and that's
sure.
what's off limits for you. Somebody else wants to fucking joke about it. Like, I hear a lot of people talk about social consequence. Like, oh, so social consequence has been around for a
Mhm.
long time. Social consequence, but like,
Mhm.
when people go and say these things, it's not the social consequence. They're not. Social consequence would be you saying something, me responding to it, and being like, "Oh, mate, you fucking suck." Social consequence isn't when I don't have the ability to listen to you because somebody else has stopped it. That's not social consequence. Um, but
It does
but
seem to
uh,
go beyond that.
but as far as punching down, I think there is obvious times where you shouldn't do it. But that her pulling that as an example and justifying, or maybe not justifying, but like just juxtapose. I can never say that fucking word.
Juxtaposing.
Thank you. I always want to say juxtaposed you, but putting those two fucking things next to each other it's not the same fucking thing. Like, you can't say Will Smith was out of line for being physically violent, but he made fun of her physical illness. Like, it's not the same. And again, it all goes back to intent. Like, is he punching down if he never
I think
intended to
so.
punch down? Like, you're only punching if he
Yeah.
looked up. If somebody said Jada Pinkett Smith has propecia, what is it called? Propecia.
Alopecia. Aloe.
Alopecia. If she's got whatever she has, and then they said
She's got alpaca syndrome.
if she has alpaca, and they said make this joke about her because she has alpaca, it'd be fucking hysterical. And he was like, you know what? Fuck yeah, I'm doing that. And then came out and did that joke.
Yeah.
You know what? He does deserve to get punched in the face. Like, if somebody made that joke to my girlfriend and they knew there was a problem, like with her hair or something, I'd walk right over there and punch him in the fucking mouth. Like, maybe not if I was,
but like
maybe
if they
not if I
happen
was
to
on an
mention,
award show, but
so
it
say
was very
she like
performative.
goes with like buns or like pigtails or something, and they either call her, like Princess Leia, or like
Yeah.
looking forward to the next Leia movie, or looking forward to the next Pippi Longstocking. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like iconic hair things. That's to me what this joke is. He was like looking forward to G.I. Jane 2. It wasn't like some great joke. It wasn't like, you're so ugly, like, the shine off your head is blinding me. Somebody do something. Like, it wasn't like a mean joke. I don't know. I think intent really matters. And I feel like this wasn't the roast joke that it feels like she's trying to make it seem.
Yeah.
That, like, she kept framing it as Chris Rock was attacking her medical condition. And it's like, that's not what I saw there. That feels like you're really, like, grasping at straws to make him the bad guy in this when it was a lighthearted joke about, again, I would say a hairstyle.
Yeah.
But I don't know. To this
A look.
lady, apparently, hair is off limits. So yeah, I would even say that. Like, it was more of a look. So I don't know. That's just my opinion on it. But I could totally be wrong, and I'd be looking forward to hearing a more professional opinion. Hopefully, we can get that in the near future. But any more thoughts on the whole punching up, punching down thing? No, we've kind of gone through it a couple times.
No, it's stupid.
All right. Well, we agree on that. All right.
Okay, he's a guy. He's a thinker. He's an intellectual.
Been reliably informed that the personal is political and everything's politics. So,
it's okay if you degrade me, it's okay if you open the house, it's okay, all of these things. I will be okay, all of this. Just somebody please marry me. It's kind of
you like my large breasts, but you know what it's like to live with them.
Rather than you can beat me into submission, it's okay, I'll still love you, Daddy. I mean, I think
The first thing my chat says is, well, we know where the goatee is.
Enjoy. Oh, fuck you! Having us off?
I'll see you lesbians later.
That's right. The best day of the week is now Thursdays, with every Thursday having a new Think on ThatDarnKitteh's channel. Now, what is a thinker, you may ask? Well, we're a diverse group of open-minded individuals who like to explore ideas and opinions. Feel free to explore the back catalogs. There's a bunch of different thinks on there, from medical assistance in death, to fathers, to kink, to male loneliness, to even more abstract topics, like why are words? We have a very diverse group of thinkers joining us from all around the world. So please join us for a think. And hey, there may even be a diagram involved. So amazing. So brave. Okay, so kind of next up, I wanted to... Are you familiar with a comedian with the name... I figured, we've talked about comedy so much. This might as well be the best time to bring it up. But are you familiar with a comedian named Hasan Minhaj?
Is that the guy who has YouTube channels and that's a different Hasan, right?
I think that is. I think you're thinking of Hasan Piker. No, this isn't a bread tuber. He is almost as famous in the political world, if you will.
Same mustache.
So he had a Netflix show. So he had a Netflix show not too long ago called The Patriot Act, which was very similar to like The Daily Show or something along those lines. But he recently had a article, in the New Yorker written about him. And they talk about his emotional truths. So Hasan Minhaj came of age as a practicing Muslim in an Indian family in the post 9/11 America. His Netflix series Patriot Act, a comedy news show in the mold of The Daily Show and Last Week Tonight, was named the defining law of that era. The series won an Emmy and a Peabody Award during its 2-year run. His stage work as a stand-up comic has led to 2 Netflix comedy specials, which have drawn plaudits from Minhaj's blend of autobiographical storytelling and social justice commentary. He recently conducted a lengthy sit-down interview with Barack Obama and is a leading candidate to succeed Trevor Noah as the next host of The Daily Show.
Oh.
In 2019, Minhaj was selected as one of Time Magazine's most influential people. In an accompanying article, Noah wrote, "We've needed Hasan's voice since Donald Trump came down that golden escalator and turned immigrants and Muslims into his targets." Minhaj's whip-smart commentary, charisma, and sincerity, he went on, was a consistent reminder that Hasan is America and America is Hasan. So those are powerful words coming from Trevor Noah.
I live in Hasan.
And then Minhaj, his approach to comedy leans heavily on his own experiences as an Asian American and a Muslim American, telling harrowing stories of law enforcement entrapment and personal threats. My dog is freaking out. For many of his fans,
like this Minhaj character.
He doesn't. Every time I bring up Minhaj, he just starts barking in the other room.
Nicki too. Nicki Minaj.
Yeah. Yes. He cannot stand Nicki Minaj, but even if it's spelled differently, my dog can't tell the difference. They sound similar. He just goes ape shit.
Yeah.
But so a lot of the stories that Minhaj says, they really they talk about like his personal stories. So it's different than most comics. So like I'm a big fan of say like Stephen Wright. He's much like Mitch Hedberg. It's kind of like one-liners. Like he has jokes about like he bought a humidifier and a dehumidifier, put them both in the same room to fight it out. I don't think he actually did that.
He
There
may
is a
have.
lot of comedy that he may have. He is a weird guy. He has another one where he talked about putting polish in his humidifier so that everything in his room is shiny.
Yeah.
Like they're funny concepts. It sounds to me like it is absurd to be absurd. Like it's not actually truth. But I don't know. When you get to something like storytelling comedy, how much truth do you expect there to be, like in an actual bit? Like one that comes to mind is like Bert Kreischer. He's got that whole machine bit. A lot of people are saying like that's not how that went down or whatever, but I'm sure he actually like went to Russia or something. Like I'm sure there are elements of that are truth.
Yeah.
How much in a storytelling comedian, how much truth do you think there should be in their stories?
17 to 32%.
Really?
No, I
So that
I,
might
I
be
think it
kind
could be
of
like a small baseline, like really, honestly.
hmm.
But
'Cause,
wait, having said that
Minhaj
though,
seems to
having said that,
yes.
there's a difference. I'm not a professional, but there's a
Yes.
difference.
I am by far no professional.
That is correct.
We are both
Neither.
non-professionals here.
Yes, I'm not even professional what I do professionally. But there's a difference between a bit or doing a comedy bit or a scene, whatever, and actually like owning something as something that happened in your life. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I know you like powerful women.
Mhm.
Are you familiar with Hannah Gatsby?
I have a poster of her that in my bedroom.
Okay, I assumed. I mean, I'd kind of seen when you streamed from that other
It's
room.
on
I
it's on
knew
the
that you are
ceiling.
at least familiar with her. But so like a lot of her comedy, they're kind of stories, they're personal stories. So she
Yeah.
talks about like a sexual assault that happened to her. So if you were to find out that that's all exaggeration, that like none of that happened, wouldn't that feel, I don't know, with the message that she's putting behind there and kind of what she's kind of recommending, like all men need, I don't know, if you found out that, none of this actually happened, I don't know, does that change everything
Oh
since it's
yeah,
that kind
completely.
of truth and social justice type of comedy?
My mother would say that she's a pity seeker. She's a pity seeker. She's out there seeking pity. That's all she wants is just a pity and a pat on the back.
And that's a
That's
good
not
kind of
comedy.
throwback phrase. I haven't heard that for a long time, but that seems to describe exactly what's going on here.
Yeah.
So, from Minhaj's own words, he acknowledged that many of his anecdotes that he related in his Netflix specials were untrue. Still, he said, and he stood by his work, every story in my style is built around a seed of truth. So there's at least a kernel of truth somewhere in there. But his comedy Arnold Palmer, if you will, the comedy Arnold Palmer, 70% emotional truth. So if you're to think about something that's actually true, is it emotional truth or would it be truth?
Yeah.
So to me, emotional truth is this feels right. Like it has nothing to do with actual truth when you put that qualifier in there. So we've got 70% emotional truth, which may or may not be actual truth, and then 30% hyperbole, exaggeration, and fiction. I wonder what percentage is actual truth. So
What's
it's very
what's
sorry, go right ahead.
emotional truth? What's that made up
Well,
shit?
he does kind of explain that a little bit later, but
Okay.
it's something that feels true. Like I can't remember the exact quote, but I think it was AOC saying like, we might not have the facts on our side, but we do have the emotional truth. So a lot of it is more feeling over fact.
Okay.
It's not a great way to
So it's not real.
make exactly. You wouldn't have that qualifier in front of it if it were actually truth. You would
You
just
know,
say it's
this
70% truth, 30%
this would
hyperbole.
actually speak to what we were talking about with Carlin. I wonder what
Exactly.
emotional truth actually means. Like really what it means. What is it? Just like, is it like when a person is like, I know I'm right, I know I'm a good person, I'm fucking good person, and that's the truth. And like, meanwhile, like, they beat their wife or or like severe drug
well,
addicts.
emotionally, they don't feel like they do, though.
Yeah.
And emotionally, they feel like she deserves it. So that's the thing. Like, people's emotional truth, like, it's not necessarily congruent with the truth.
Yeah.
It is something completely different.
I mean, I guess they could be the same, right?
But yeah, now that we are kind of familiar with the song, let's take a little look at something by Joke World. And
what's the deal with airplane peanuts?
Hasan Minhaj has been all over the news this week after a story published in the New Yorker went viral, claiming the comedian has been blatantly lying and completely fabricating details of his life, including many of the stories in his 2022 Netflix special, The King's Jester. You might be thinking to yourself, but doesn't every comedian bend the truth and make stuff up for the sake of their jokes? Why is this any different? Well, in the case of Hasan Minhaj, it's a bit more complicated than that. Hasan wasn't lying for the sake of humor. He was telling bold-faced lies on stage not to make people laugh, but in an effort to drive political narratives, evoke sympathy and pity towards himself, and create a fake sense of victimhood and paranoia, all for personal gain.
So is that what makes this feel so different to me? So I might be priming you in this, but is it the fact that he's not telling the lie for the actual joke, that it's not the punchline, that instead it's kind of this... So I am going to prime you in this. It very much feels like a Jussie Smollett situation, if you will, the Juicy Smollett.
Yeah.
In that, like, the lie is simply to elicit some sort of, like, sympathy, like you said, the sympathy seeking.
Pity seeking.
Is that why this is striking me different from, like, pity seeking? Sorry, not sympathy. It's just such a great term that it doesn't want to stick with me. Yeah, pity seeking. I don't know. Is that what's rubbing me different about this? Because, like, I have no problem with comedians lying to me. Like, I'm assuming, every punchline that they say isn't necessarily true. But when you kind of hear what this guy was lying about, I don't know. I think that's the thing. It is this pity-seeking behavior.
It's a bit like stolen valor.
It is. And when you see kind of what this guy is using his, what stories he's telling about this, yeah, I think that really much describes what he's doing here. The concept of stolen valor is also what kind of rung in my head. So I like the thought path that you're going down, but yeah, I definitely primed you for this. So sorry, audience. I'm not giving you an easy way to look at, or I'm giving you too easy of a way to look at this. Perhaps you disagree, and if so, I'd love to hear why. But yeah, let's get into the stories that he's told from the beginning. I thought, again, Joke World really handled this well and kind of covered the entire thing. So go check out what they're doing.
AJ from questions straight from Hasan's. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at this entire story from start to finish. But before we do that, let's listen to the jokes and questions straight from Hasan's mouth, starting off with the attack on his daughter.
Yo, you got fan mail. I go, give me my fan mail, Carlos. He grabs a stack of letters. He hands them to me. I rip it open. I flip it over. And all this white powder falls into the stroller. And it falls on my daughter's shoulder. Her neck, her cheeks. And she's staring at me. And I run upstairs and I tell Bina. And this time I can't lie.
Well, I don't know about this time you can't lie, but yeah, that just seems like such a weird setup. I'm sure it's going to lead to an actual joke or something.
Yeah,
I'm sure you couldn't possibly
get
to this joke anyway other than this. Yeah, so okay, he poured white powder from a fan letter all over his daughter and then had to tell his wife. So
we rushed down to NYU, but this time we go through the emergency room. And the moment they see the baby, they just rip the clothes off her and they take her away. And me and Bina, we're sitting in the waiting room for hours and we're not talking. Finally, around midnight, a nurse comes in and she's holding my daughter. But she's with an investigator. And the investigator reaches into his pocket and he pulls out a plastic baggie filled with white powder.
Do investigators do that? Like, I would kind of think they wouldn't just, like, pull up a baggie of powder. But I guess in his story, he's saying that it's not the actual thing. But still, I don't know. That seems a little far-fetched in its own, that they would come out with a baby and the packet of powder. But
yeah, not both.
Okay. He'll keep going now.
He goes, Mr. Minhaj, you're very lucky. This isn't real anthrax. But I've been in this department long enough to know this shit just doesn't come out of nowhere. So I have to ask you something, young man. Who on earth have you been antagonizing?
So that kind of seems like a joke, like, is all of this worth that joke? There's another punchline coming up, but,
All right, there better be.
it kind of makes you wonder, is that all worth this setup?
Do you have to do that? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know why I'm doing this. They give the baby back to Bina, and I reach over to hold my daughter. And Bina won't let me touch her. And it kills me. We get home, she puts the baby down, then she finally talks to me. She goes, okay, we're gonna talk about this once, then we're never gonna talk about it ever again. The only reason why we're here tonight is because you chose clout over our kids. I go, kids? Did you say kids? She goes, I'm pregnant. I'm like, the sequel?
According to
how much of this fucking shit is true?
That's the entire punchline. Well, I'll give you a guess. He has a wife, he has a daughter, and then they were pregnant again. So that seems to be the extent of it. So he'll kind of go on and explain it, but yeah, sorry to steal the thunder from that. So all of it seems to be fabricated. So he's going to go into it, but an incident like that would actually go to the counterterrorism department in New York City. There would actually be like strong records of all of this. That's not something that's just like random. Well, let's kind of see what he explained when the New Yorker was kind of talking to him. Yeah.
According to the article published by the New Yorker September 5th, 2023, the New York Police Department, which investigates incidents of possible Bacillus anthracis, has no record of an incident like the one Minhaj describes, nor do area hospitals. Front desk and mailroom employees at Minhaj's former residence don't remember such an incident, nor do employees involved with the show's security or Minhaj's security guard from the time. During our conversation, Minhaj admitted that his daughter had never been exposed to a white powder and that she had not been hospitalized.
By the way, he's making up a story, and the air of it is that, like, it's just like, I go there. I go so over the line.
I play hard
and
in the paint.
Even Time Magazine is like, whoa, you're crazy. And it's like,
by the way, he
on.
says things
my
like,
whole family's like, can you just not take it there for once? Meanwhile, this
They call
guy
him a
never takes it there.
By the way, he
just says the easiest
He just
thing.
does like Trump's an orange goblin.
Yeah, like
that kind of shit.
his whole thing is just like, you know what, I'm going to say something. Trump's racist. And like, that's his kind. So it's like, dude, don't act like you take it there.
That is a good point. It doesn't seem to be really controversial to say a lot of the things that Hasan Minhaj is saying. It seems to be, really down kind of the acceptable path. He is saying it on Netflix, so he is saying it a little bit harder than like Netflix or network TV. But I don't know. He's not saying like super controversial opinions. So I don't know. It really comes off kind of like the whole Jussie Smollett thing to me. Well, that was a good sample of it. So he has so that's from The King's Jester, but he has another one called Homecoming King. They're going to get into it a little bit, but the closing bit of that.
This is a comedy special?
Yes. So it's his Netflix special. So that's from his most recent one, the one that we just saw with the baby with the white powder. But the one before that was all about when he was going to his homecoming dance, and he invited a girl, but he was jilted in this thing. So he made a special all about it. They're going to go into it in a little bit, but yeah, it turns out there's very similar aspects to that as there is to this, but he's going to get into it. So let's let him explain a little bit further. But yeah, I'll be interested in your opinion once you kind of hear a little bit more of
The
this.
article goes on to explain another joke from the same special, where Hasan tells a detailed story from his youth about an undercover FBI agent who infiltrated his local Sacramento mosque back in 2002. In the Netflix special, Hasan claims this FBI agent was Islamophobic and arrested Hasan for no reason, even slamming his head onto the hood of a police car. The author of the article was able to track down the FBI agent in question, and when asked about these stories, he said Minhaj's story is a complete fabrication. I have no idea why he would do that. In fact, Montilia was in prison in 2002 and didn't begin to work for the FBI until 2006. Additionally, he only worked in Southern California, not the Sacramento area where Hasan claims these events took place.
So, supposedly with that, this FBI agent was identified on the news, and there was a story about this FBI agent specifically working on a counterterrorism unit. It appears Hasan just saw this name and then just used that in his story, and then tried to get clout that his story was he what this agent was trying to trick all the kids into admitting that they were going to do some form of like jihad or something. So he jokingly said that it was planning something like that. So this guy just assaulted him, slammed his head on the hood of the car. Well, it turns out all of this is also fabricated. This guy was actually in jail and didn't work for the FBI at the time. It's just 100% made
bullshit.
up. But to him, that's part of his 70% emotional truth and 30% fabrication. So he kind of justifies it, and he'll explain how he's going to justify this in a moment, but it is part of that 30% emotional truth, I do believe.
Wait, but Andrew.
Yes.
Comedians make up stories all the time.
That's true. Now, usually we do it to make things funnier, not make things more racist or sad or emotional.
Yeah.
And I think that's the tricky thing here in his stories. It's not like he was using these exaggerations or hyperbole as punchlines. He was using them to kind of make the audience feel worse about him. And then it turns out these things didn't actually happen.
When discussing all of this, it is important to point out that comedians making up stories or exaggerating certain situations for the purpose of entertaining their audience is part of their job description. When this story first broke, there was a crowd of people in support of Hasan, who were all quick to point out other jokes famous comedians have told on stage that included clearly fabricated details, including...
So you might be familiar with this bit that's coming up, but I think that's the difference is, people expect that you're going to make it up for the punchline, for the subversion, for whatever, but they don't assume that, when you're telling a story that just makes you the victim or, you're seeking pity, that would be made up. I don't know. I guess that's where it's rubbing me differently, but I don't know. See if you think either telling a story about how you were assaulted by an undercover FBI agent or how you dropped white powder on your child, is it all similar to Dave Chappelle's bit, which Joke World happened to grab the whole bit. So is that at all similar to this bit?
Including Dave Chappelle's famous Baby in the Hood bit. The funny thing about this argument is that it kind of proves why what Hasan did was wrong. In no way, shape, or form is it clear that any of his stories are made up. If anything, he's trying to convince everyone listening to accept them as fact, which is the complete opposite of what someone like Dave Chappelle is trying to do with an outlandish, impossible premise. Just listen to Chappelle's joke about a baby selling drugs in the hood and compare it to the tone of Hasan's anthrax joke that we heard earlier.
Now this is when I knew I was in a bad neighborhood. You only see this in the worst neighborhoods. Remember, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I look out the window. There was a baby standing on a corner. Look at this. And the baby didn't even look scared. He was just standing there. I mean, it made me sad. It made me sad, really. Because I wanted to help the baby. I was like, I don't trust you either. I'm sorry. Click. Click. The old baby on the corner trick, eh? I'm not gonna fall for that shit. Where's this limousine driver? I start feeling bad. As time goes by, I start feeling worse. Like, man, what is wrong with me? What the hell's wrong? I'm scared of a baby. Man, this baby could be in trouble. He might need my help. I gotta do something. But I wasn't gonna get out the car. I'm serious, man. I just cracked the window a little bit. There's an old limousine. I can roll it down. Hey, baby. Baby, go home, man. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. What the f*** are you doing up? The baby said, I'm selling weed. I said, oh.
See the difference? The only...
I don't know. Do you see the difference between it? Well, so that's the thing. Yeah, it's laughs. It's not like a whole bunch of like clapter. I don't know. I think that's the thing with that brand of storytelling comedy. Like, I think it really does fit with like the Hannah Gatsby style of it. It's not meant to get big punchlines, big laughs, where that's what Dave Chappelle's, lie was about. If you want to call it that, I would call that comedy, where I'm not really calling what I've seen Hasan do. I have heard him tell jokes before. I wouldn't say that these stories are necessarily jokes. Like, he had like a tiny joke peppered in there where there was like one laugh, but the actual like crescendo of it doesn't lead to like a laugh. It's like, oh, good for him. They're pregnant with a second child. Like, I don't know. It's not a punchline where Dave Chappelle's is. So what is this lie for? Like you said, it's that pity seeking. I don't know. I think that's where it really rubs me different. But yeah, there is more to this. But yeah, did you have kind of any thoughts on the difference between those two?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's you said it pretty well there. It's the difference is one is going for a laugh and the other is going for pity seeking. And I mean, you see people do that just in everyday life. Like people say
For
things
sure.
like, I might be an idiot, but and then they'll say their idea, or like you know, I'm poor or whatever. Like they'll come up with some bullshit, and it's to gain some kind of sympathy from people. It's the pity seeking. But clearly the two things are not the same at all. One is a joke, but I will say this: I got lost
Mhm.
in Newark, New Jersey, bringing my father to the airport about 25 years ago. It was around 3:30, 4 o'clock in the
That could be
morning, and
dangerous.
it was fucking terrifying. And you know what I saw? I saw a baby on the fucking corner. There was a baby, like not a baby. It was probably like, I don't know,
Did you see a
4 or 5.
guy in a limousine? Like, could this have actually been like proof that Chappelle wasn't
This could have
lying
been
about
the
this
incident.
joke?
Yeah, that this was real. I wasn't waiting around to find out. I was so
Huh.
fucking scared. It was not a nice area. And if for any of our viewers, just if you're curious what Newark, New Jersey is like, just look up crime statistics in Newark, New Jersey, around Newark International Airport. You'll kind of get what I'm saying about the area. But yeah, no, it's just total fucking bullshit. Like I don't want to. I've been trying to do that thing where I'm not taking people out of their out of context and shit like that. But I mean, those are some fucked up things to lie about. Like it's not a
I
joke.
think
That's not a
so,
joke.
but
What's the fucking punchline?
well, he is going to
Punchline is my
justify
wife
it,
was
and they're going
pregnant.
to get a little bit more into the interview.
All right.
Pretty much that it turns out she's pregnant with a second kid, so I'm badass and I go hard. I don't know. It feels like the whole
Better
Jussie
way to tell
Smollett
that
thing.
story.
Like, well, part of what
Juicy
he was
Smollett.
saying was that he thought it was because he goes hard at 45 is what he kept saying. And it feels like that's the
Yeah.
same thing that Hasan Minhaj is saying, that, because he goes so hard with his comedy, just that's why he had people that wanted to attack him. But he does justify it in a little way, and in a little bit, in a way that I was not anticipating. So, yeah, let's see if perhaps you can agree with where he's coming from with this.
The only thing Dave Chappelle gained from making up that story was laughs. Hasan Minhaj is using his platform as a comedian, which allows you the option to slightly bend the truth to create scenarios out of thin air that drive a narrative and create division amongst people, all while casting himself as the victim and using that victimhood as currency to move up in his profession. This is a lot different than embellishing a punchline. Lies that purposely create divide in society, going out of his way to prop up racism and paranoia to millions of people. These stories coming from Hasan skew people's outlook on reality in a negative way. Chappelle might be lying, but he's lying to make you laugh. Hasan is lying for personal gain without even being funny.
The theme was heartbreak. So for years I was doing stand-up, and I get the topic of heartbreak, so I had to think about what was my first time falling in love and who was the first person that I fell in love with. You're given the topic, and then you have to
Ooh, so now he's talking about, truth. He's supposed to actually talk about the first person that he's in love with. So this one's not going to be some sort of some sort of fabrication, if you will. There is no way that he would just lie about the first time that he was in love or anything like that, right?
Sure.
Well,
and then you have to figure out a story. So it was kind of the first time that I had to let go of the act and then just go, all right, I just have to tell a real story.
No act this time.
And maybe there'll be funny moments within it. Told the story.
Didn't tell the truth.
Does telling a real story mean that you're telling the truth? Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like, if I write a real story, that's not necessarily a truthful story. I don't know. He chooses his words somewhat wisely, and
yeah,
I think that's for a reason. But just keep in mind, he has never said a true story. He's saying a real story. So
about the first person that I loved and trying to go to prom with her and then not being able to go because of her parents. And Catherine Burns, the creative director of The Moth, was like, that's what ended up happening with you and your dad and sneaking out to try to go to prom and then experiencing this on the doorstep, not being able to go because of the color of your skin and what happened with her parents. I started to slowly sort of write it out.
Yeah, he made life worse for other people in real life.
Oh, wait, how is that?
Have you know the prom story, right?
What's the prom story?
Prom story, the Homecoming King is based on a story that he was supposed to go to prom with a white girl, got to the door, she's putting a corsage on a white guy, because her parents didn't like the fact that Hasan was Indian. And that's terrible story.
Yeah.
Lady responds.
I know what I paid.
And so, Lady responds and is like, not only is this not true, he asked me days before the prom, I just said no, and not only are my parents not racist, I'm married to an Indian.
Let go of the act.
So, yeah. Yeah, but again, it's these type of stories that just make you the victim and somehow elevate you and, seeking that pity that oh no, like I was actually on her doorstep. Like she didn't actually tell me no. But apparently he was friends with this girl and he just asked her like a couple days before the actual
Yeah.
thing. And she's like, no, I already have a date. But he turns that into this entire production. It is his first special. It's called Homecoming King. And it's all about how racism prevented him from being able to have a happy, homecoming dance with this lady. And who knows, he could have been the homecoming king if not for racism. Uh, it's really a messed up story.
Yeah.
It goes beyond that. So he did invite this lady to the premiere of one of these shows. They did it live as well. It wasn't just a Netflix special. And he used her picture and her husband's picture, but blurred them. But apparently people were able to see who it was, understand who it was, and they have been harassed ever since because he made up this fictional story. He used, I believe, her real name or close enough to a real name that they could figure out who it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, this person has been relentlessly bullied, harassed because he has made up this story, this fictional
pretty bad.
account of it. But then he goes on to justify it. Out of curiosity, if you were to be a guessing man, what would you guess his justification for making these stories up would be?
Is it his emotional truth?
Essentially, that these stories are true for somebody. So let's let him
Oh.
kind of. You're very close to what he's saying.
He's
but,
the voice of the
let's
people.
let him say why this is okay. Yeah, exactly.
I just have to tell a real story.
In the weeks following the article being published in the New Yorker, Hasan addressed the criticism, defending himself and pushing back on the idea that what he did was wrong in any way, saying, quote, "My comedy Arnold Palmer is 70% emotional truth and 30% hyperbole, exaggeration, fiction." Even his response doesn't make that much sense, because it's arguable none of this was done for the sake of comedy or jokes. These lies weren't really to make people laugh, they were completely self-serving, with the purpose of garnering sympathy from an audience. We've seen comedians get busted for massive lies in the past, with the most famous...
Ooh. Are you familiar with Steve Renazizi at all? The gentleman on the screen now. He was in
Yeah,
The
I
League
think I know the
and
story.
a bunch of other things. Yeah, so he has kind of a similar thing where it seemed to be a pity-seeking thing. I think he's going to explain it a little bit, but you are familiar with it. This was kind of the biggest lie
Yeah.
in comedy.
I think I know this one.
Controversy, as far as I know. So he claimed that he was in 9/11, that he worked for one of the brokering firms that had their office in the tower. For some reason, he was late that day, so he should be dead, but he is not. It very much feels like that stolen valor thing, like you're talking about. It turns out he was never employed by that company or anything like that. Now, he never used it in a bit, but it was still a story that he would tell. It definitely made the rounds. People were aware that he was saying that he was in 9/11 essentially, and then it turns out he was not at all.
Yeah.
But he wasn't using it specifically as a bit. It seems to be the difference here, and he might explain it a little bit more. But still a funny guy. I really do like him, and when I heard that he had made those false claims, it really made me think a little different about this guy. But The League, really funny. If you had never checked it out, it's worth it.
This example being Steve Renazizi falsely claiming to be a 9/11 survivor for many years. But even in that most egregious of examples, Steve's lie never made it on stage or into a joke, and it wasn't necessarily used to benefit his career. Hasan, on the other hand, was basically taking part in mainstream media fear-mongering, but through comedy and Netflix instead of Fox and CNN. I also understand there's some people who don't think this is a very big deal and understand that lying is a part of comedy. I'm very curious to hear what you guys think about this entire situation, so please sound off in the comments down below.
Our boy Hasan
I'd be curious too.
Minhaj, I think, yeah.
How do we even know? How do we even know that that's how he pronounces
I think
the
we
name?
get to decide what the truth is.
I think that his name is 70% emotionally true, and then
Andrew Schultz, always hilarious. But that is a good point. How do we know anything? If everything from him is 70% emotional truth, what percentage is real truth? It's kind of hard to say. But kind of a interesting case, if you will. I don't know. I hadn't heard of a comedian kind of doing this storytelling thing really with the social justice angle, but having everything just be a lie, essentially, or at least emotional truth, not actual truth. I don't know. Did you have any thoughts to kind of sum this up? Were you aware of this situation at all?
You mean with the with the 9/11 guy or the Hasan biker?
Any of it. Do you see like a difference between Steve Renazizi with him claiming that he was a 9/11 victim, where he so arguably maybe that benefited his career. Maybe there was some sympathy things like, oh, this guy
Yeah.
was involved in 9/11. Maybe, but it didn't seem like he was directly doing it like as his bit or as a for instance, Homecoming King. That was like the title bit in that first Netflix special that this guy had, but the entire story seems to be made up.
Yeah.
But emotionally, it might have happened to somebody. So
I don't know.
Hmm.
It's gross.
he's telling their story.
It's gross. It's like
It feels like it.
it's like it's like the did you see smell that thing? But the thing is when you make shit like this up and you're taking something away from people in really bad situations. I feel like I don't know. I guess that's why I really like that term "stolen valor." Like when you ever seen those
Mhm.
videos where the guys dress up and they're walking down the street in a very
Yeah.
obvious like army
It's
costume and
pretty
a real
awesome when they
a
finally
real
get
Marine.
confronted. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like I've seen Marines walk up to like their children next to them and they're like, what blah 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 were you in? And and the guy's like, I was in it. And
Mhm.
he's like, yeah, well, that's fucking funny. Well, so was I. And it's like and he's like, that doesn't exist. That's not even a thing. And
It is pretty awesome when people get called on their shit, especially if you're trying to take. I don't know. I guess with that is not necessarily sympathy, but it valor
is.
definitely means something. But well, I don't know. I think it's more like respect. Like if I know that somebody has served, they've got a certain amount of respect for me.
Yeah, they get
Where
free meals.
I don't
and
know if I
shit.
hear somebody was fair enough.
Seriously.
But like if I hear somebody's victimized, I don't know. I think they do get a certain amount of sympathy. Where I don't necessarily know that somebody who served would get sympathy from me. But I don't know. So it does seem like there's a little something different, but it definitely seems like it's along those lines.
I mean, I don't know.
It definitely feels wrong to me.
It's strange because I think that maybe if I and not take anything away from my fellow Americans, but I think maybe if I lived further away, I may be able to pull a closer comparison to these two, or maybe even lean that the 9/11 guy is not as bad. But
Mm.
I live I could see
Yeah.
the George Washington and the coast like when I drive to work in the morning and I'm in the
Yeah.
I'm out in the field as they say and I see the skyline all the time, so it's like, and I saw it when it happened,
Mhm.
and I know people that were there and that died and that got sick from the cleanup, so it just feels grosser.
For sure.
Like the other things that Hassan made up were like pure pity seek stories. It was like
It seems like it.
like they couldn't have been real. You know what I mean? It'd be like if I told a story that I got,
Mhm.
I don't know, like the shit kicked out of me by Santa Claus in the mall or something. Like, and everybody was laughing. That would be like different because it's not something that really fucking happened. Like, it's not a real incident you're pulling
Yeah.
from. Like racism happens, I guess, but like it's just not I don't know. Maybe like I think I'm biased. I think that's what it is. I think I'm like
I
too
think
close to
so,
the
and I
source.
didn't help things by priming you in this. And then,
Yeah.
the second comparison being Steve Renazizi, I'm sure that doesn't help either. But
Yeah.
I don't know, it just rubs me so wrong. And then his actual explanation for it, again, just
You were like, "What's
not taking
worse?
ownership for what you're doing.
What's worse, grape or aggravated grape?" I'm like, I don't know. that's the two comparisons.
Yeah. I mean,
that's what you
fair
gave me to
enough.
work with.
And yeah, I understand what you're saying, and it really kind of is. Like both of those things are
Apples and
unacceptable, but I can kind of see where some of the argument is that, comedy is a lot of lies. Like a lot of
Yeah.
times the unexpected isn't necessarily something that happened, but this isn't a punchline that he's changing.
Yeah.
Like this is an entire but I guess, there are setups like
And-
did the
and
chicken actually cross the road?
the-
Probably not,
No, but the second
I don't know,
guy
it just feels different.
the second guy was just lying. Like it wasn't really he wasn't doing it
Yeah.
for he was just lying. Maybe he was getting like special treatment at certain clubs, things like that. Maybe that's why he did it. I don't know.
It could
Or
be.
like maybe he got
Mhm.
pussy based on it. I have no idea. But the Hassan guy clearly was pity seeking. And you know how my mother feels about that.
I
don't like
do.
it.
I gotta say,
Fucking pity
she has a point
seekers.
there. But yeah, just the other thing is when he's actually caught, there isn't like an apology or, I can understand how some people wouldn't like to. Instead, it was just kind of You know, my comedy is actually an Arnold Palmer. It is a classic drink, and I'm going to now associate that with my brand of comedy.
Yeah.
To me, his explanation for it really rubbed me wrong, and then saying that it's an emotional truth and it's true for somebody. If you do get a chance, do read that article in the New Yorker.
Yeah.
It goes into it in a little bit more detail, and he really did have like a long sit down
like-
conversation with the journalist. But
It's like based on a true story.
yeah, yeah, and I
Except
would
these
be
were based
interested
on
in
lies.
exactly. I would be interested in hearing a professional comedian's
As
opinion
well.
on this because it definitely has far-reaching implications, and I would assume I don't know. I would just be
Yeah.
interested in what a comedian's
I
opinion on this would be, or if
and
they see it from a different light. Like, come on, jokes are all made up.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
I'm think like I'm pretty solid on it. I would definitely like to get somebody. We might know a guy that
Yeah.
that's worked within the industry that would know, like, because it's weird with comedians. Like, there's like weird sets of rules there. Like, don't steal each other's jokes, obviously. And like, so I wonder if these guys would look at these other comedians and be like, "You're a fucking piece of shit. You're garbage." Like, you know what I mean? Like, I wonder if
I
like you
got a feeling they
lose.
might.
I would assume because
maybe
you got to be
just
well, maybe
maybe.
not likable, but you got to be funny, I guess. Being funny probably helps.
Yeah, that is kind of the yeah, and that dude definitely is likable, and when you kinda add the pity thing into it, it kinda makes you
Yeah.
like the guy a little bit more.
Yeah, he's
But
a
yeah,
peppy
I'd be
little guy.
interested to hear a professional's opinion on it because they might be seeing it from an angle that we're not. But I guess along those lines, it's time for our next segment. Hey, all right. So it is my favorite time of the week, and that's when we check the mailbag. So we are the Chuds, and if
Love
you have
checking
a
the
question
mailbag.
for us, you got to check the bag. I mean, the bag is
Check the
important.
mailbag.
You got to check the mailbag. So, what is a chud, you ask? Well, a chud is a creative, helpful, unifying, and determined individual. We're taking it back. That's right.
Alright.
So, if you guys have questions, please send it to us. It's askachud@gmail.com. Now, we have a very special message this week. So, it starts out, "Hey there, Dijon and Star Spangled."
Ooh. Oh.
Different. Yeah, you're
I like
fancy.
that.
Um, the guys you have covered in the past are pretty bad at admitting when they're wrong. Do you guys also have trouble with that? Signed, a wrong time listener. Okay, I see what they are doing there. No. I think. I guess yes. We all have a problem, kind of admitting when we're wrong. I would like to think that I'm able to do that, and a lot of things as of recently have definitely made me see that I was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, sir? Do you think you can admit when you were wrong?
Well, when it happens eventually, when I am wrong one day, I'm sure that
Uh-huh.
I'll be comfortable with with letting go. And no, I'm big
I
on
hope so.
I'm big on admitting when I'm wrong. It's I mean, it's super important because the idea that we all know fucking everything is just ridiculous. So it's quite possible that you're
Yeah.
making wrong assumptions. Um,
For sure.
sometimes it takes me a little bit longer to see it, but when you got it, you better say it, otherwise it eats you alive.
Yes,
It
I
eats your
completely
whole.
agree with that. I don't know if I agree with that, but well, did you say you whole or your whole?
It eats
Either
your
way,
whole. It'll
I know what
swallow
you're
your
talking
whole.
about.
It'll swallow what?
But yeah, um, part of the title and the reason why we chose Just Be Honest is we wanted to be honest. We didn't want to
Yeah.
perpetuate lies or misconceptions, and part of that is admitting when we're wrong. I think it's kind of what we've been alluding to all day, but I was very much wrong. I made a bunch of assumptions, and I was really an asshole. On top of that, I took it further than that. So I'm specifically talking about Charles WILIscredia. I've gone really hard at him on this channel, and I really think I was wrong in everything that I did. I think I assumed a lot of intentions from him. I thought I knew what he was based off of a couple clips that I'd seen, and then based off of who he associates with. And I think that's a really horrible thing. I think I completely treated him unfair, and I didn't actually take any time to really do any research into him. I knew he has unfortunate initials, I'll say, that became a nickname for him. And I really hammered that hard. That was low-hanging fruit that I just kept hitting over and over again. Um, I was a real ass to him. I saw, the fact that he hung out with some people that I don't necessarily respect. I assumed that he was just like them. And then when I saw the clips of him essentially defending Bob by using some unfortunate language that I definitely would not use, I just assumed he was just like those other guys, and I made a whole bunch of assumptions, and I was just completely unfair. And then with like the ranking thing, so it kind of started with I had a conversation with Bob. I didn't really know anything about the other guys. I knew of actual fandom and organized chaos from their conversation with Adam and Sitch. And then I did a little bit of research, tried to ask him some questions in chat, and I basically got banned from Danes. Bob told me I can either debate him or I can be banned. So I sent him an email, I talked to him, and then after that conversation, I brought up some comedy and stuff, and Charles commented on that. I think I was already kind of soured to the whole group. I'd seen his name associated with it, and I don't think I gave him a fair and honest take on that. I said some really hurtful, shitty things in there. He bills himself as a comedian. So I thought, how do you hurt a comedian? You tell them they're not funny. I did just that in my initial chats with him. I completely gatekept comedy. And then I did that again recently with our last episode. I gatekept the concept of what a professional comedian is. That was really shitty of me. I'm calling out the Fandom Initiative for gatekeeping. They have that whole saying, ambassadors, not gatekeepers. And I was calling them out on that. But at the same time, I was gatekeeping comedy. I, for no reason, told Charles he isn't a comedian when he is. And then I completely gatekept the concept of what a professional is. I've never been a professional anything in my life. I don't know exactly what the standard of professional is, but I'm not the arbiter of that. I am in no way the person who should decide who is or isn't a professional. I think it's up to each person, like in their profession, to decide when they have gone pro. That's just not up to me. So I definitely owe Charles a whole bunch of apologies. And, I'm sorry, man. I was extremely unfair to you. That's not
sorry.
cool. I totally gatekept comedy. And, I also was just an ass to you. Without knowing your comedy or anything like that, I had just seen a couple performances on the Fandom Initiative. I said you weren't funny. That's really shitty of me. That's not true. I have since seen a little bit more of your work, and I can definitely tell that you are not only a fan of comedy, but you are a comedian. I've seen a few of your bits. We laughed at your bits, but we chose kind of some key moments that weren't necessarily when the audience was laughing. And then there was some shitty editing on my part to take out some of the crowd's laughter at your actual performance. So, yeah, I got to say that was really shitty. I shouldn't have done that to you. You don't deserve any of this. Since you have actually reached out to us, I think, I was able to tell you a lot of this personally, but I feel like since I said this publicly, it deserves to also be said publicly, not just sent to you in a private email. But I got to say, I completely had you pegged wrong. I thought I knew who you were based off of who you associate with, and that's something that I've also given the Fandom Initiative shit about. But I did that to you, and that's completely unfair, man. So I hope you will accept these apologies in the way that I mean them to be. Honestly, I was not fair to you. That sucks, man.
Are you done?
I think so. If you want to take a turn at this,
I'd like to say something as well. First, I'd like to say that I completely agree with Gray that he was wrong and he acted foolishly.
I was,
and that I also watched some of more of your bits, Charles, and I still don't think you're funny. I'm just kidding, but I wrote you.
Oh, that is rude.
I wrote you a letter to say I'm sorry, and it's dear Charles, fuck you. The end. No, man, I'm just kidding, and I know
how you put it in a hallmark.
I know that you'll take that as what it's supposed to be, and it's a joke, and I hope you will. I mean, and
Oh, he's got a sense of humor. I think he'll get it.
He's funnier than I thought he was. And again, I saw like 30 seconds of his comedy, so really that's not fair. But this whole situation it just changed my perspective, and I'm very grateful for that. We almost got caught up. I'm going to speak for myself. I almost got caught up there.
Oh yeah.
As much as everybody else does, and I've made this comparison before that sometimes when people are fighting a lot and they're fighting against somebody and they're throwing punches constantly every day, you get so used to throwing those punches that your punches start getting sloppy and you start, not caring so much about where you're landing them. And I will always tease you if you want to, be cool with us, be friends with me or bullshit, whatever. I'll always tease people and I'll fuck with people. All my friends know I do it. And I'm just, I'm so glad that my perspective is changed on this. It's really enlightening. And,
yeah,
it's just, I'm sorry also. That was painful to say. And I was wrong. I misjudged you completely. And I'm looking forward to getting to know you better. And honestly, I hope one day maybe you get to know some of the other guys that I thought were dicks a little better. It's a new day, a new age, new time for us all. And we can all thank SIPO for hatching this on the world.
That's true.
I love
thank you as well, Charles. Yeah, there is a lot of love for Charles here. But you really kind of helped us both on this.
Yeah, seriously.
I don't know, journey of introspection, if you will. All kidding aside. You really did help us kind of see something that we've been talking to each other about for quite a while. Your comments, they really helped kind of solidify this, and they helped us kind of, see the new direction and kind of actually take a look at ourselves in the mirror. So thank you, Charles.
Yeah.
We really appreciate that. You are a bigger man than both of us, and thank you for actually reaching out to us and being vulnerable. We owe you, sir. We were very unkind to you. But yeah, I think that's probably a good place to kind of wrap this for this week. Take a look at yourself. Make sure you're not becoming the monster that you're hunting.
The thing you don't like.
Unfortunately, I think we were able to hopefully catch this in time. But it is kind of nice to see something from somebody else's perspective. So yeah, if you haven't done that for a while, try and take a step back. Sometimes you get caught up in the shit, and
maybe reach out.
Did.
Reach out to one of those people you think is a dick, and maybe they're not. You never know.
Yeah,
a lot of nice people out there
You
just
never
kind
know.
of defending their sides and unknowingly becoming tribalistic. And the best way we stop that is reach.
And that's kind of the
reach out.
thing. It is this tribalistic thing, and we've kind of gone into a few aspects of it, but everyone is subject to it. No matter how much I want to fight against it, I definitely fell into this whole team thing. I definitely judged Charles because of the team thing.
I did too.
Try and take a step back. Try and
Makes me wonder
make sure
about the
that
rest
you
of
are
them.
giving everyone the benefit of the doubt.
Except
I don't
except for
know.
Dane.
I think
Fuck you, Dane.
I was gonna say there's a couple of them that I don't know, but
only one that can suck
it
my
is showing me
balls.
that I can definitely be wrong. I don't want to prejudge people,
Yeah.
but
Now
if you do, sometimes you can be very wrong. So
we all need
try and take a
some
closer look at
understanding.
the people around you. Yeah, but it's always nice to talk to you, Patrick.
You as well, sir.
Hope you have a good week, and thank you everybody for tuning in.
We'll see you next week. I'll see you next week.
Cool.